For millennia, hidden beneath layers of time, mysteries have quietly whispered from the past. Ancient secrets that defy logic, challenge history, and stir the imagination. Forgotten cities, strange artifacts, and cryptic symbols, all locked away in remote corners of the world, waiting to be uncovered. What if the key to understanding our origins lies buried in the sands of time, just beyond our reach? As we peel back the veil of history, what truths will emerge? Join us on a journey into the heart of these bizarre, unsolved archaeological mysteries, where each discovery is more astonishing than the last. What are we truly meant to find? Tucked away in the heart of Anatolia, in modern-day Turkey, lies an archaeological site that seems to hold the pulse of humanity's distant past. Çatalhöyük, a sprawling, ancient settlement that dates back over 9,000 years, stands as one of the most enigmatic and well-preserved Neolithic sites in the world. Its labyrinthine layout, built up over millennia, seems like a snapshot of early human civilization, frozen in time. Yet, as archaeologists sift through its dust and rubble, they are confronted with questions that seem to defy easy answers. The site itself is a vast, honeycomb-like complex of mud brick dwellings, arranged without streets or pathways. Homes are connected by ladders, with roofs serving as both ceilings and streets, creating a compact and almost claustrophobic settlement. As researchers walk through these ancient spaces, it's hard not to wonder, how did the people of Çatalhöyük live so intimately with one another, without the privacy we take for granted? Could such a dense, communal lifestyle have influenced the way their society developed, or even how they viewed the world around them? The inhabitants of Çatalhöyük lived between 7,500 BC and 5,700 BC, long before written language, and they left behind a legacy that is both stunning and mysterious. Intricate murals, sculptures, and elaborate burial practices suggest a people deeply connected to ritual and symbolism. But the more archaeologists dig, the more peculiarities emerge, calling into question what we thought we knew about early human culture. One of the most striking features of Çatalhöyük is its artwork, vibrant frescoes that decorate the walls of homes, depicting everything from wild animals to abstract shapes, even human figures in strange, almost ceremonial poses. The imagery suggests a society rich in symbolism, but many of the meanings remain elusive. Why were certain animals, such as bulls and leopards, repeatedly featured in the murals? Were they revered as symbols of power or fertility, or did they carry some deeper sacred meaning tied to the spiritual life of the community? Perhaps these depictions served as a form of communication, or even a reflection of the society's worldview, which we may never fully grasp. Beneath the layers of artwork, however, lies an even more perplexing mystery: the dead. The people of Çatalhöyük buried their loved ones beneath their homes, under the floors, often with elaborate grave goods. The bodies were positioned in strange, ritualistic ways, sometimes with skulls removed and carefully preserved. Why were the dead treated with such reverence? Was it a belief in ancestor worship? Or did the skulls serve as a form of immortality, a way to keep the spirit of the deceased alive within the home? Could these rituals point to an early form of religious or spiritual thinking, one that was deeply integrated into daily life? Yet even more intriguing is the layout of the settlement itself. With no streets, no clear public spaces, and no apparent hierarchy, the people of Çatalhöyük seem to have lived in a world without distinctions of class or status. The close-knit arrangement of homes might suggest a deeply egalitarian society, but the mystery remains. How did such a culture evolve? What kind of beliefs or systems of governance could have held it together? Some theories suggest that the site was a proto-city, an early attempt at urbanization, where people shared everything from resources to beliefs. Others speculate that it was a spiritual center, perhaps even a pilgrimage site where people came to worship or seek answers to existential questions. What if Çatalhöyük wasn't just a settlement, but a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead, between the material and the spiritual, were blurred in ways we can only begin to imagine? Some archaeologists have even raised the possibility that the people of Çatalhöyük were connected to distant civilizations through trade or even shared beliefs, perhaps a cultural bridge between early farming societies and later, more complex civilizations. Could this early society have influenced later developments in Palestine, or even beyond? Despite decades of excavation, no one has been able to definitively answer these questions. The mysteries of Çatalhöyük, it seems, are as deeply embedded in the past as the very walls of its homes. Each layer of earth offers more clues, but fewer certainties. As we peer through the veil of time, we are left to wonder. What knowledge did the people of Çatalhöyük possess that we may never fully understand? And what, if anything, might still lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered? As we leave behind the ancient world of Çatalhöyük, we turn our gaze to another remarkable site, nestled in the windswept hills of northeast Scotland. Here, high upon Dunnideer Hill, lies a fortress of stone, its very name carrying the weight of centuries, Dunnideer Hillfort. Situated at a strategic vantage point, the fort seems to rise out of the landscape as if it has watched the passage of time unfold before it. With sweeping views over the surrounding valleys, it's easy to understand why this place was chosen for defense and settlement. Yet, even as we stand in awe of its imposing remains, we're confronted by a lingering question. What exactly was this place, and why was it built in such a remote and inhospitable location? Dunnideer Hillfort dates back to the Iron Age, around 500 BC, a time when tribes across Britain were fiercely carving out their own identities in a world defined by conflict and shifting allegiances. The Hillfort's size and positioning suggest it was not merely a defensive structure, but a center of power and influence. The fort's walls, impressive even in their ruins, were once built of timber and stone, creating an impenetrable stronghold. The construction of such a place would have required careful planning, skilled labor, and substantial resources. But it's the site's overall design and the mysteries surrounding its purpose that continue to captivate archaeologists today. The first thing that strikes you when approaching Dunnideer Hillfort is its isolation. Situated on a steep hill, far from the settled plains, it seems almost deliberately hidden from view. Was this strategic placement simply for defense, or was there a deeper, more symbolic purpose behind it? The fort's location could have offered its inhabitants the upper hand in battle, allowing them to survey any approaching enemies. But why choose a site that demanded such effort and dedication to construct? Why not settle closer to fertile lands, where resources would have been easier to come by? As researchers dig deeper into Dunnideer, they uncover a complex web of questions. Excavations have revealed evidence of a rich and vibrant society, pottery, tools, and animal bones that point to a thriving community, one deeply integrated with the land. Yet, the fort's true purpose remains elusive. Was it simply a military outpost, or could it have been something more? Perhaps a ceremonial center, where rituals or gatherings were held at the intersection of the sacred and the everyday. One of the most perplexing features of Dunnideer Hillfort is the presence of cup and ring marks, intricate patterns carved into the stone surfaces within the fort. These markings, seen at various other sites throughout the British Isles, have long been a source of fascination, but their meaning remains a mystery. Were they the work of early religious practices, connected to the beliefs of a forgotten people? Or could they represent a form of communication, a language of symbols used by the inhabitants of the Hillfort? Some have speculated that these markings could have been created by people who lived in a more deeply spiritual world, one in which stones, symbols, and natural landscapes were interconnected in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Adding to the intrigue is the absence of evidence for large-scale battle or destruction at Dunnideer. There is no sign of a violent end, no indication that the fort was overrun or destroyed in a siege. Instead, the fort appears to have been abandoned, left to crumble into the landscape over time. Why did its inhabitants leave? Was it simply the shifting dynamics of tribal life? Or did something more mysterious prompt their departure? The absence of definitive answers only deepens the enigma of Dunnideer Hillfort. Some theories suggest that Dunnideer was not just a hill fort, but a ritualistic space, used for purposes that may never be fully understood. Could it have been a place where the forces of nature, the gods, or the spirits of the land were revered in ways that defy our modern conceptions? Perhaps the site was intended to connect the living with the beyond, acting as a bridge between realms. But without written records, how can we truly know? The true nature of Dunnideer Hillfort may have been lost to time, leaving only whispers in the wind, carried across the hills. In recent years, some have even proposed more fringe theories. Could Dunnideer have been part of a larger network of mystical sites, linked together by an ancient belief system that spanned the British Isles? Were the markings carved into its stones somehow aligned with celestial events, or perhaps mapped to the stars in a way that suggests an early form of astronomy? Though these ideas are speculative, they point to the possibility that Dunnideer, like many ancient sites, holds mysteries that go far beyond the mundane. Despite years of research, the true story of Dunnideer Hillfort remains hidden in the fog of history. Was it merely a military stronghold, a place of refuge for those who sought protection? Or was it something far more enigmatic, a site of ancient ritual, shrouded in symbolism, where the living and the dead were intertwined in ways we can scarcely imagine? What lies beneath the layers of stone and earth, waiting to reveal the secrets of its past? And how much more of Dunnideer's history has yet to be uncovered, still lying dormant in the shadows of time? The answers may be buried deep, but the search for them continues, ever more tantalizing, ever more mysterious. As we step away from the rugged hills of Dunnideer, we now turn our focus to a much older and far more mysterious structure, one that has quietly stood the test of time for thousands of years. Nestled in the quiet, wind-swept fields of Brittany, France, is a monument that feels as if it holds the very secrets of the ancient world. Kercado Passage Grave. This megalithic tomb is part of a greater collection of similar sites scattered across the region, but Kercado stands out for its remarkable preservation and the strange aura that surrounds it. Standing before the stone passage, one is immediately struck by the sense of reverence the place commands. Its ancient stones feel as if they carry the weight of forgotten rituals and whispered prayers, lost to history, but still faintly echoing in the air. The passage grave, which dates back to around 3300 BC, is a prime example of the Neolithic tomb-building tradition. Made up of large, moss-covered stones, Kercado's burial chamber is reached by a narrow passageway, which was once covered by a massive cairn. Over the centuries, much of this burial mound has eroded, leaving just a fraction of its original size intact. Still, the site offers a profound glimpse into the monumental efforts undertaken by early humans to honor their dead, and perhaps, in some mysterious way, to communicate with something beyond their mortal grasp. The structure itself is simple in its design, yet its purpose seems to have been anything but mundane. The chamber is aligned precisely with the rising sun during the winter solstice, a feature shared by many other megalithic sites across Europe. This alignment suggests a deeper connection between the people of this era and celestial events. Was this tomb simply a resting place for the deceased, or was it part of a grander ritualistic framework in which the dead were ushered into the afterlife with the help of the stars? Could it be that Kercado, like so many other ancient structures, was a sort of cosmic map, a place where the realms of the living and the dead converged? As with many Neolithic structures, there is no written record to clarify the intentions of the people who constructed it. Archaeologists have found evidence that suggests the Kercado grave was not merely a solitary tomb, but part of a larger cultural and spiritual landscape. Over time, it would have likely been a site of regular pilgrimage as people from nearby communities visited to pay respects, conduct rituals, or seek the guidance of ancestors who were believed to reside within the stones. But even as we piece together these details, there remains an unnerving sense of the unknown. What exactly were these rituals and what belief systems underpinned them? Were these people driven solely by a fear of death? Or was there a more complex, cosmological understanding at play? One of the most compelling aspects of Kercado Passage Grave is the sheer scale and sophistication of its construction. Unlike many later tombs, which were often simple pits or mounds, Kercado's design shows an incredible level of planning and craftsmanship. The stones themselves, carefully shaped and arranged, were likely transported from a significant distance, an effort that would have required advanced engineering knowledge and communal cooperation. How could a society, which had yet to develop written language, have managed such an ambitious feat? What does this say about their organization, their technological capabilities, and their understanding of the world? But it's not just the construction that draws intrigue. It's what might still lie hidden within the earth surrounding Kercado. In nearby sites, archaeologists have uncovered strange and elaborate artifacts, from pottery decorated with abstract symbols to human remains placed in highly ritualistic positions. Kercado itself has yielded some clues, including fragments of bones and tools. But what lies deeper beneath the ground? Might there be more tombs yet to be discovered? Or could there be hidden chambers that have escaped the notice of modern excavators? Some have even suggested that the site may have been a sacred burial ground for an elite class, a place where the most revered members of the society were buried with treasures, objects and offerings meant to ensure their safe passage into the afterlife. Beyond the artifacts, there are aspects of Kercado's construction that seem to suggest a level of knowledge far ahead of its time. The precision with which the stones are placed, particularly in relation to the sun's position during solstices, hints at a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Some researchers have speculated that the alignment could have been used as a form of calendrical system, helping these early peoples track the seasons or mark important agricultural events. But could there have been another, deeper reason for this astronomical awareness? Was it tied to an ancient, shared belief in the power of celestial bodies to influence the course of human life? In addition to these questions, there are more speculative theories that suggest Kercado may have had a more esoteric purpose. Some have proposed that it was a site of ancient ritual magic, perhaps used to communicate with unseen forces or to channel spiritual energies. Could it have been a place where the physical world and the supernatural realms were believed to intersect? The presence of intricate carvings on some of the stones surrounding the grave, unlike any other known Neolithic artwork, adds weight to this idea. These patterns may have held symbolic meaning, their shapes and lines possibly acting as keys to unlocking hidden knowledge or power. The mystery of Kercado Passage Grave, much like so many other ancient sites, is rooted in the limitations of our understanding. While we can piece together elements of its function, its role as a tomb, its connection to the heavens, and its potential for ritual, so much remains hidden, as if the true purpose of the site lies just beyond our reach. What is certain, however, is that Kercado holds a story of a people who understood their world in ways we may never fully comprehend. What we have now are only fragments of that story, frozen in stone, waiting for the day when the last pieces may fall into place. As we leave the site, the questions remain, unanswered and undisturbed. What ancient truths are locked within these stones, and how much more will we uncover if we continue to search? What if the grave itself is merely a gateway, leading to something much grander, something that will forever change our understanding of human history? The answers may lie buried beneath the earth, or they may simply elude us forever. But the mystery of Kercado remains, as potent and powerful as the day it was first constructed, a testament to the enduring enigma of our distant past. As we leave behind the mysterious stones of Kercado, we journey eastward to a place where ancient secrets are not merely whispered in the wind, but lie exposed in the very soil beneath our feet. The site of Ain Ghazal, located in the heart of modern-day Palestine, offers an archaeological enigma unlike any other. Here, in the sprawling plains just outside the bustling city of Amman, a quiet yet profound story has unfolded, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about early human civilization. Ain Ghazal, a Neolithic settlement that dates back to around 7,200 BC, is a place where the remnants of human life are preserved with an almost eerie clarity. As you approach the site, you are greeted by the silhouette of stone and mud brick structures, their outlines barely perceptible against the arid backdrop of the desert. The village, once a thriving community, is now reduced to a scattering of walls and foundations, though its significance remains undeniable. It is the site's astonishing collection of statues and human remains that truly draw attention, each one a clue to a culture that, despite its achievements, remains shrouded in mystery. The first and most striking discovery at Ain Ghazal was the uncovering of large human statues, some as tall as life-size, made from a mixture of plaster and lime. These statues, which have been found in various states of preservation, show an astonishing level of detail: delicately carved faces, painted eyes, and realistic proportions. But what is most unusual about these statues is the way they seem to stare back at us from across the millennia. The gaze of these figures, lifelike and piercing, raises questions that go beyond mere artistry. Why were they created with such care, and for what purpose? These statues, along with other similar figures found in nearby regions, suggest a culture deeply invested in symbolic representation. Yet, unlike the idols of other early civilizations, the figures at Ain Ghazal are not simply representations of gods or leaders. Some have speculated that they may have been ritualistic objects, designed to connect the living with the spirits of the dead or to embody an idealized vision of humanity. Could they have been linked to ancestor worship, serving as conduits between the human world and the supernatural? Or were they representations of the ancestors themselves, perhaps the spirits of those long gone, brought to life through the skill of the sculptor? Intriguingly, these statues are not the only mysteries uncovered at Ain Ghazal. In addition to the figurines, archaeologists have found a vast array of burial sites, many containing unusual evidence of elaborate mortuary practices. In one particular burial, for example, researchers discovered the remains of a child buried with a set of animal bones, arranged in such a way that they seemed to form a kind of ritual offering. What did this placement signify? Was it a mark of reverence, or a belief in the protection of the child's spirit in the afterlife? These rituals suggest a society deeply engaged with death and the afterlife, yet the lack of written records leaves us with only fragments of understanding. Were the people of Ain Ghazal driven by a religious worldview centered around death and rebirth? Or were they more concerned with the day-to-day challenges of survival? While the presence of ritual suggests a complex belief system, much of it remains just out of reach, like the shadow of a forgotten dream. Moreover, the structure of Ain Ghazal itself is puzzling. The settlement, like other early Neolithic villages, was built around large communal houses, which would have been home to extended families. But the sheer scale and organization of these dwellings implies something more. How did the people of Ain Ghazal manage to coordinate such a vast, tightly knit community? Was this a tribal society with distinct leaders and roles, or could it have been an egalitarian society where decisions were made collectively? There is no clear evidence of a ruling elite, yet the level of planning required to build such a community suggests a level of organization that goes beyond mere necessity. Adding another layer of intrigue to the site is the appearance of agriculture. The people of Ain Ghazal were among the earliest practitioners of farming in the region, cultivating cereals and legumes in the fertile soil of the Jordan Valley. This shift from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to settled farming marked a profound change in the way humans lived, yet there is no indication that the people of Ain Ghazal engaged in any large-scale agricultural trade. They seemed content to live in relative isolation, their society rooted deeply in the local landscape. What was it that led them to embrace farming so fully, while other societies of the time remained more mobile? Could there have been a spiritual or symbolic reason behind this shift, perhaps an understanding of the cycles of life that went beyond the material? What makes Ain Ghazal truly remarkable, however, is its sense of continuity with later cultures. The figures found here, with their realistic facial features and lifelike depictions, bear a striking resemblance to sculptures that would appear thousands of years later in the ancient civilizations of the Near East. Could it be that the people of Ain Ghazal laid the foundation for later, more complex cultures that would go on to build monumental cities, temples, and kingdoms? Or were these societies, like Ain Ghazal, built upon deep and unspoken connections to the past, their spiritual practices and artistic traditions handed down in ways we may never fully understand? As we stand in the shadow of Ain Ghazal, we are left with more questions than answers. What was the true purpose behind the statues and the elaborate burials? Were the rituals and practices here unique to this settlement, or did they form part of a larger, interconnected network of belief systems stretching across the Near East? Why did these people, so skilled in the arts of life, devote so much effort to memorializing the dead? Was their society driven by a desire to commune with the beyond, or was it the memory of the past that shaped their way of life? And most pressing of all, what might still lie hidden beneath the soil of Ain Ghazal, waiting to be uncovered? The story of Ain Ghazal, like so many ancient mysteries, is incomplete. Its statues, graves, and symbols speak to a culture that lived in a world of meaning and connection, but the full extent of that world remains tantalizingly out of reach. As the excavations continue, we can only wonder what more this enigmatic site might reveal, and what ancient truths still lie buried, waiting to tell us the story of a people long gone, but whose echoes still resonate in the stones and soil. As we leave behind the ancient figures of Ain Ghazal, we now journey across the Mediterranean to a place where history and mystery collide in a forgotten corner of the Adriatic. On the rugged island of Monkodonja, perched on a hilltop in modern-day Croatia, lies the silent testimony of an ancient civilization whose name has been lost to time. It is a place where the wind whispers secrets across the stones, and where the remnants of a long-abandoned settlement stand as quiet sentinels to a past that remains obscured. Monkodonja, though relatively obscure compared to other ancient sites, is a site that demands attention. The settlement, which dates back to around 1500 BC, is perched on a strategic hilltop, offering sweeping views of the surrounding landscape. Its location suggests that it was not only a defensive stronghold but also a place of significance, a site where the people of this region lived, worked, and, perhaps most intriguingly, engaged in rituals and practices whose true meanings have largely been lost. The remnants of its stone walls, built from large, carefully stacked blocks, form the outlines of structures that once housed a thriving community. The stonework is remarkable, not for its size but for its precision, suggesting a high level of craftsmanship and planning. But it is the absence of written records, and the scarcity of material evidence that leaves us with more questions than answers. What drove the people of Monkodonja to build such a well-organized settlement in such an isolated location? Was it purely for defense, as the strategic position might suggest, or was there a deeper, more spiritual purpose behind its design? Unlike many other ancient settlements, Monkodonja appears to have been abandoned suddenly, leaving behind few traces of its people and almost no artifacts to shed light on their way of life. The most striking aspect of the site, however, is the mysterious walls that once encircled the settlement. These walls, which extend for several kilometers around the settlement, were made from large, flat stones, expertly placed to create an almost impenetrable barrier. The sheer size and scale of the walls suggest a community of considerable power and organization. But why did the people of Monkodonja invest so much effort into building such a complex and defensible settlement? Was it a response to external threats, or did it reflect internal social dynamics that we can only speculate about? And if this was a place of defense, why does the site show no evidence of large-scale destruction or warfare? The absence of evidence for violent conflict raises the possibility that the fortifications had a different purpose altogether, perhaps symbolic, or perhaps related to rituals that have long since faded from our understanding. One of the most puzzling features of Monkodonja is the suddenness of its abandonment. Unlike other ancient sites that gradually decline over time, Monkodonja seems to have been abandoned almost overnight. No evidence of large-scale destruction, warfare, or environmental catastrophe has been found, which raises the question: what could have caused such a sudden and mysterious departure? Was the settlement simply no longer needed? Or was there an event, some unseen factor, that led to its swift and total abandonment? Could it have been the result of internal social or political upheaval? Or perhaps a shift in the spiritual or religious practices of the people? The lack of written records compounds the mystery. Unlike the civilizations of Mesopotamia or Egypt, where ancient texts provide some insight into daily life, trade, and politics, Monkodonja offers only physical remnants of its existence. The absence of inscriptions, or any known form of written communication, leaves us to rely solely on the artifacts and structures found at the site. This makes Monkodonja a challenging puzzle, one where the pieces we have don't quite fit together in a coherent narrative. Adding to the intrigue are the artifacts that have been found at the site. Unlike the elaborate burial goods or finely crafted pottery of other ancient civilizations, Monkodonja's archaeological record is sparse and enigmatic. Few tools or personal items have been recovered, and what little has been uncovered does not provide clear answers about the social or religious practices of the community. Were the people of Monkodonja simply pragmatists, focused on survival and defense? Or was there a deeper, more complex worldview that guided their actions? The lack of obvious ceremonial artifacts leaves open the possibility that this society's rituals and beliefs were far more subtle, woven into the fabric of daily life in ways that remain hidden from us. Some archaeologists have suggested that the fortifications of Monkodonja could point to a society deeply concerned with defense and control of resources. Was it a warrior society whose rulers sought to maintain power through military might and strategic alliances? Or could it have been a place where social hierarchy was more fluid, where the fortifications served as a symbol of unity or collective identity rather than as a defense against invaders? Speculative theories also abound, suggesting that the site could have had a more ceremonial or ritualistic purpose. Some have posited that the walls themselves may have been symbolic, representing the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds. Could Monkodonja have been a site of pilgrimage, where people gathered not for defense but to partake in sacred rites? Were the fortifications built to protect something far more valuable than a simple settlement? Perhaps an altar, a sacred relic, or a spiritual leader? The absence of clear evidence makes such theories difficult to verify, but they add to the rich tapestry of unanswered questions surrounding this mysterious place. As we stand among the ruins of Monkodonja, it's difficult not to feel a sense of quiet awe. This place, so isolated and enigmatic, holds the traces of a civilization whose story has been lost to time. Yet the walls that remain speak of a people who understood the power of stone and structure, who built their homes and their defenses with care and purpose. But what were they defending or protecting? What secrets were hidden within the walls of this forgotten place? The answers may never fully be uncovered, but the mystery of Monkodonja endures, quietly challenging us to look beyond the surface and wonder what ancient truths may still lie buried beneath the stones. As we move further along our journey, we find ourselves on the rugged shores of northern Spain, where ancient stone walls and long-forgotten pathways tell the story of a civilization that has largely slipped through the cracks of history. Here, amidst the wild, wind-swept landscapes of the Asturias region, stands Castro de Coaña, a hill fort that offers a glimpse into the past, but one that leaves more questions than answers. The site itself is situated on a prominent hill, offering sweeping views of the surrounding valleys and forests. The Castro de Coaña is part of a series of ancient hill forts found throughout the Iberian Peninsula, but what makes this site particularly intriguing is its sheer size and complexity. The stone walls that once encircled the settlement stretch for over 300 meters, forming a network of interconnected structures that are still visible today. These walls, made from large, roughly hewn stones, hint at a culture with a deep understanding of both engineering and the natural world. The people of Coaña knew how to shape and move stone, how to plan and build a fortified settlement on a hilltop, where they could defend themselves from potential invaders, while maintaining a strong connection to the surrounding land. But as we stand before these remnants, the first question that arises is, why here? Why choose this particular location, so far from major trade routes and so isolated from the fertile plains below? The site's location, perched high above the surrounding countryside, would have made it a strategic defensive position, but it also raises more enigmatic questions. Was it a stronghold against external threats, or was there something more to the site's positioning? Could the people of Coaña have been following ancient cosmological beliefs, constructing their settlement in alignment with natural features, or perhaps celestial phenomena? While the fortifications suggest a militaristic purpose, Castro de Coaña may have also served as a hub for cultural and social interaction. Excavations of the site have uncovered evidence of well-organized dwellings, workshops, and storage areas, suggesting that this was not just a place of defense, but a thriving settlement. The layout of the site indicates that the people living here were not merely concerned with survival, but with creating a structured community, with clear divisions of labor and social organization. Yet, even as we piece together the evidence, there is a pervasive sense that the people of Coaña were hiding something we may never fully understand. One of the most puzzling aspects of Castro de Coaña is the presence of large stone platforms and structures that seem to have no clear functional purpose. These platforms, some of which appear to be aligned with certain features of the landscape, suggest that the site had a ceremonial or symbolic aspect that is not immediately apparent in the more practical structures. Could these platforms have been used for rituals, or perhaps as altars to the gods? Were they simply places where the community gathered to share in ceremonies or important events, or did they hold a deeper, more esoteric significance? Equally intriguing are the burial practices discovered at the site. Unlike many other ancient settlements, where burials were typically confined to simple graves or burial mounds, Castro de Coaña reveals evidence of more elaborate burial rites. Archaeologists have uncovered both cremation and inhumation burials, suggesting that the people of Coaña practiced a complex relationship with death and the afterlife. What did these burial practices signify? Was it a belief in an afterlife, or perhaps a way to honor the dead and maintain a spiritual connection with those who had passed? The lack of definitive answers to these questions only adds to the sense of mystery surrounding the site. In addition to the physical evidence, Castro de Coaña has also revealed a treasure trove of artifacts, many of which remain mysterious in their own right. Pottery, tools, and weapons have all been found, each piece offering clues about the daily life of the people who once called this place home. Yet some of the objects, particularly the pottery, are decorated with patterns that seem to carry no clear meaning. The designs are abstract, almost geometric in nature, and are unlike anything else found in the region. Could these symbols have held a ritualistic or religious significance? Were they a form of communication, a way of expressing ideas or beliefs that we no longer understand? The mystery of these markings is compounded by their widespread presence throughout the site, suggesting that they were deeply embedded in the culture of the people who lived there. As the excavation of Castro de Coaña continues, more questions continue to arise. Were the people of this hill fort part of a larger network of tribes and communities? Or were they isolated, living in a world that was cut off from the civilizations of the Mediterranean and the rest of Europe? Some researchers suggest that the people here may have had contact with other cultures, perhaps through trade or migration, but so far, there is no conclusive evidence to confirm this. Could the abstract symbols found on the pottery and the stone platforms be linked to external influences, or do they represent a unique belief system that developed in isolation? The lack of clear connections between this site and others in the region only deepens the sense that the people of Castro de Coaña were part of a mystery that remains unsolved. And then there is the question of why the site was ultimately abandoned. Like so many other ancient hill forts, Castro de Coaña was deserted at some point, its stone walls falling into disrepair. Was it a natural disaster, such as an earthquake or a fire, that caused the people to flee? Or was it the gradual decline of the settlement as its people were absorbed into surrounding cultures and tribes? The suddenness of its abandonment, with little evidence of external conflict or internal collapse, suggests that the people of Coaña may have simply moved on, leaving behind only traces of their once thriving community. What remains clear is that the story of Castro de Coaña is far from complete. The stone walls, the mysterious symbols, the complex burial practices, these are but fragments of a much larger narrative that we may never fully comprehend. Was it a place of ritual and spiritual significance, or a stronghold built for defense? Were its people isolated, or part of a larger interconnected world? The answers to these questions remain elusive, hidden in the stones and soil of the site. And as the years pass and new discoveries are made, we are left to wonder what else might still be buried beneath the ground, waiting to reveal the true purpose and significance of this ancient settlement. As we leave the stone walls of Castro de Coaña behind, our journey takes us farther east, into the heart of the ancient Near East, where the landscape shifts to the arid highlands of modern-day Iran. Here, nestled in the rugged terrain of the Zagros Mountains, lies a site that speaks to both the power and fragility of ancient civilizations, Hasanlu Stone Citadel. This ancient fortress, dating back to the 9th century BC, is an archaeological marvel. Standing atop a steep hill, Hasanlu overlooks the vast plains below, offering a commanding view of the surrounding landscape. The citadel's massive walls, built from mud brick and stone, still stand tall today, a silent testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the people who once lived there. Yet, despite its imposing presence, there is an undeniable sense of mystery that surrounds Hasanlu. What exactly happened here? What caused the abrupt end to the city's once thriving existence? The site of Hasanlu was first inhabited by the people of the Urartian Kingdom, a civilization that thrived in the region between the 9th and 7th centuries BC. The citadel's strategic location was not accidental. Its high perch offered both a natural defense and a commanding position from which to oversee the surrounding lands. Hasanlu was once a bustling center of trade, culture, and power, with bustling markets and grand palaces, its people deeply connected to the rich agricultural lands that spread out beneath them. But in the ashes of this former prosperity, one question persists. What caused its sudden destruction? When archaeologists first excavated Hasanlu in the 1950s, they uncovered a shocking scene, a city abandoned in haste, its walls broken and burnt. Among the ruins were the charred remains of people who had apparently met their untimely end during the final moments of the city's collapse. This discovery was unsettling in its own right, but it was the way the bodies were found that added to the mystery. The residents of Hasanlu had not simply fled. They had been caught in the throes of destruction, their remains scattered throughout the city in the middle of everyday activities. The city's final moments were as chaotic as they were tragic, with people trapped in the very places where they had lived and worked. Was it a sudden attack, a natural disaster, or something else entirely that led to their demise? Among the most haunting discoveries at Hasanlu is a golden helmet, found in a destroyed building, the intricate craftsmanship of which speaks to the city's wealth and cultural sophistication. But the helmet's presence is also a mystery. Was it an heirloom, an item of royal importance, or perhaps something tied to a religious ritual? And what about the remains of the bodies found around the site? Why were the people of Hasanlu not buried properly, as was common in most ancient cultures? Were they simply victims of war, or was there a more complex reason for the sudden collapse of the city? What makes the story of Hasanlu even more puzzling is the sheer scale of destruction that occurred. The citadel's walls were not just breached, they were torn apart. The archaeological evidence suggests that the attackers knew precisely where to strike, causing maximum damage and ensuring that the city would not rise again. This level of precision hints at a highly organized force, possibly an army from a rival kingdom or empire, intent on annihilating the city. But why would such a powerful civilization be targeted so ruthlessly? Was there a political or military reason for the destruction, or could it have been driven by something more personal, such as a long-standing grudge between leaders or groups? Some theories suggest that the fall of Hasanlu was linked to the broader upheavals occurring in the Near East during this time. The 9th and 8th centuries BC were a period marked by intense conflict and shifting alliances between empires. The Assyrians, who were expanding their empire during this period, were known for their brutal military campaigns, and some scholars speculate that they may have been responsible for the destruction of Hasanlu. Could this be the work of a powerful empire, bent on consolidating power and crushing any resistance in its path? Or were the people of Hasanlu simply caught in the crossfire of larger geopolitical struggles? Other theories propose a more mystical explanation for the site's demise. Some researchers suggest that the people of Hasanlu might have experienced a kind of collective trauma, whether through warfare, famine, or a natural disaster, that led to their downfall. The suddenness of the city's destruction, combined with the absence of any major written records or surviving survivors, makes it hard to determine what exactly happened. Could the people of Hasanlu have been the victims of an event so catastrophic that it left no survivors to tell the tale? Yet even with these theories in mind, many aspects of Hasanlu's destruction remain enigmatic. One of the most perplexing elements is the lack of evidence for a prolonged siege. The city was clearly abandoned quickly, but there is little indication that the inhabitants had time to prepare for a long-standing military assault. The fire that consumed the city appears to have been sudden and overwhelming, suggesting that the fall of Hasanlu was swift and brutal. Were the people of the city taken completely by surprise, or was there an internal collapse that led to their vulnerability? And if so, was it a result of external pressures, or something within the city itself that triggered its downfall? The golden helmet, the burned remains, the broken walls. Each piece of evidence at Hasanlu tells part of the story, but none can provide a definitive explanation. As we look upon the ruins today, it's easy to feel the weight of history pressing down, as though the answers to these questions are just beyond reach, waiting for the right person to piece together the puzzle. What remains clear is that the destruction of Hasanlu was not the result of a simple battle or a random act of violence. It was the end of a civilization, one that was as sophisticated as it was vulnerable, brought low by forces that still remain elusive. So, what truly caused the fall of Hasanlu? Was it the might of a conquering empire, the collapse of an ancient kingdom, or something more mysterious? And what of the people themselves? What stories did they tell in their final moments? And why did they leave behind such haunting, incomplete clues to their fate? As we stand on the threshold of this ancient site, the answers seem to slip further away with each passing year, leaving us with only more questions and the eerie silence of a city that will never rise again. As we leave behind the remnants of Hasanlu's fiery destruction, our journey takes us to a quieter place, an ancient site that, though less known, carries with it a mystery as profound and enduring as any we've encountered. Nestled on the windswept island of Malta, amidst the rugged beauty of its southern coast, stands the Skorba Temples. These ancient megalithic structures, some of the oldest in the Mediterranean, offer us a glimpse into a world long forgotten, where rituals, beliefs, and cosmic alignments shaped the very fabric of life. The temples at Skorba were built over a period that stretches back to around 3600 BC, during a time when humanity was transitioning from a nomadic lifestyle to settled agricultural communities. Though small compared to other more famous megalithic sites like Stonehenge or the pyramids of Egypt, Skorba holds an understated significance. The temples are constructed with large limestone blocks, some weighing several tons, that were carefully arranged to create a series of sacred enclosures, chambers, and altars. The structures, although fragmentary, still evoke a sense of wonder, standing in quiet testament to the skill and ambition of the people who built them. The site is divided into two main temples, Temple A and Temple B, each with its own distinct characteristics. The stone walls, though eroded by time, hint at the once great precision of their construction. Inside the temples, archaeologists have found fragments of pottery, tools, and the remains of animals that may have been used in sacrificial rituals. These findings suggest that the temples were not simply places of worship, but also vital centers for the community, where people gathered to perform rituals that likely held deep spiritual significance. What were these rituals? And what did the people of Skorba believe? Was it a belief in gods, in the land, or in something more abstract? Perhaps a cosmic order they sought to align themselves with? Despite the presence of these physical remains, the true purpose of the Skorba temples remains elusive. The precise function of the temples is still the subject of debate among archaeologists and historians. Some scholars suggest that the temples were used primarily for ritualistic purposes, possibly to honor fertility deities or to align with celestial phenomena such as the solstices. The fact that many other megalithic sites across the Mediterranean seem to have astronomical alignments only deepens the mystery. Was there something more than mere religious symbolism behind the positioning of these stones? Could it be that the builders of Skorba, like other ancient cultures, understood something about the cosmos that has been lost to us over time? There are also other, less conventional theories about the site. Some researchers have suggested that the Skorba temples were not just places of ritual, but of social and political importance, centers where leaders were crowned, or even where ancient laws were enacted. Could it be that the temples were part of a much larger societal structure, one that governed the lives of the people on the island? The absence of written records makes it difficult to say, but the sheer scale and complexity of the site point to a society that was far more organized than we might expect for such an early period. Were these people simply primitive farmers and traders, or were they members of a complex, stratified society with a deep understanding of governance and power? Another layer to this mystery is the way the people of Skorba interacted with the land around them. The island of Malta, with its arid climate and rocky soil, would not have been the easiest place for early agricultural societies to thrive. And yet, the builders of Skorba seem to have mastered the land, creating settlements that could sustain large populations. Evidence suggests that the people here engaged in extensive farming, raising crops like wheat, barley, and legumes, and likely even domesticated animals. Was the construction of these temples tied to agricultural cycles and the need to ensure good harvests? Were the rituals that took place within the temple walls meant to appeal to forces of nature, asking for blessings on the crops, or were they tied to deeper, more esoteric understandings of the natural world? The mystery surrounding Skorba deepens when we consider the skull fragments and other human remains found at the site. These bones, which show signs of both natural and violent death, have sparked theories about the possible sacrificial rituals that may have taken place here. Could it be that the people of Skorba engaged in human sacrifice, offering up their own as part of an effort to commune with gods or spirits? While there is no definitive proof, the possibility lingers in the back of our minds, suggesting that the people of this early society were willing to pay a steep price for divine favor. As with so many ancient sites, the story of Skorba is not one that can be fully understood from the evidence we have today. The stone blocks that make up the temples are silent witnesses to a world that once was, but they offer no clear answers. Who were these people, and what did they believe? What rituals did they perform within these temple walls, and why did they feel the need to construct such monumental structures with such effort and care? Was Skorba merely a religious center, or was it the beating heart of an entire society, a place where politics, religion, and daily life were intertwined in ways we can only begin to imagine? Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Skorba is its very incompleteness. Unlike some other megalithic sites which have been extensively excavated and studied, Skorba remains an enigma. Many of the temple walls are still buried beneath the earth, and much of the site remains unexplored. What might still be hidden in the deep layers of dirt that cover this ancient place? Could there be additional chambers, statues, or artifacts that would shed more light on the mysteries of Skorba? Or could the temples themselves be hiding secrets? Perhaps a deeper, esoteric knowledge that was deliberately concealed by those who built them. As we stand before the ancient stones of Skorba, the questions persist. How much do we truly understand about the purpose of these temples, and what might the people of Skorba have known that we have yet to uncover? Were their rituals simply a means of survival, or did they represent something far more profound? An attempt to tap into the hidden forces of the universe? The answers remain elusive, as always, tucked away beneath the earth and the shadows of history. But the mystery of Skorba, like so many ancient wonders, remains one of the greatest puzzles of our time. Leaving the mysterious megaliths of Malta behind, we journey northward to the windswept, stone-strewn shores of the Shetland Islands. Here, amidst the rugged landscape and cold, churning seas, stands a monument of remarkable antiquity, the Broch of Clickimin. This ancient structure, a tower-like fortress that rises from the earth like an enigmatic sentinel, seems to have withstood the ravages of time. Yet its true purpose and meaning remain shrouded in mystery. Perched near the edge of a loch in the heart of Shetland, the Broch of Clickimin is one of the best preserved examples of a broch, a type of Iron Age structure unique to Scotland and the surrounding islands. Dating back to around 1000 BC, this monumental stone tower rises to an impressive height, its walls built of carefully arranged dry-laid stones, some weighing several tons. The sheer scale of the structure is striking. Despite its age, the walls of the Broch still stand tall and defiant, offering a glimpse into a time when the people of Shetland lived in a world far different from our own. Yet for all its grandeur, the Broch of Clickimin leaves us with more questions than answers. What was its true purpose? Was it a fortress, a dwelling, or something far more mysterious? At first glance, the Broch appears to be a straightforward defensive structure. Its thick walls and narrow entrances suggest that it was built with security in mind, a stronghold against potential threats. But as we delve deeper into the site, we begin to realize that it may have been more than just a military installation. The Broch contains an interior network of rooms and passages, each carefully constructed and seemingly designed for purposes beyond mere protection. Some of these rooms may have been used for storage, while others seem to have served as living spaces. The layout of the Broch itself is also highly organized, with concentric walls that create a central courtyard or open space. Why would a structure built for defense also include such intricate domestic spaces? Was this an early form of communal living, or did the Broch serve a ritualistic or symbolic function that we cannot yet comprehend? One of the most fascinating features of the Broch of Clickimin is its double wall construction. The Broch's outer walls are thick and strong, designed to ward off invaders. But within the walls lies a second, thinner wall that encloses a series of chambers and passageways. This inner structure suggests that the Broch may have been a multifunctional space, part fortress, part communal hub, and possibly even a ceremonial center. The presence of these internal spaces hints at a level of sophistication and complexity not typically associated with simple defensive structures. Were these rooms used for trade, governance, or spiritual practices? Or was the Broch's primary role far more pragmatic, serving as a home for the leaders of the settlement and their retinue? Among the most puzzling elements of the Broch are the artifacts that have been found within and around the site. Excavations have uncovered pottery, tools, and small objects of personal use, items that seem to suggest a thriving community of people living within the Broch's walls. However, these finds are not as abundant as one might expect from a site of such apparent importance. There is a marked absence of large-scale storage vessels or signs of large-scale agricultural activity. What then was the true economy of Clickimin? Was it a settlement focused on defense, with only minimal trade and subsistence farming? Or was the Broch part of a wider network of coastal settlements, with links to distant lands and cultures that we have yet to fully understand? In addition to the physical remains, another mystery surrounding the Broch of Clickimin is the spiritual or religious significance of the site. Some archaeologists have speculated that the Broch may have served as a center for ritual practices. The isolated location of the Broch, with its commanding views of the surrounding landscape and sea, could suggest that it was more than just a place to live or defend. Could it have had a role in spiritual or religious ceremonies, acting as a focal point for the community's connection to the natural world or to higher powers? The evidence for such theories is thin, but the sense that the Broch holds a deeper significance is hard to ignore. Could the intricate construction of the Broch be a form of symbolic expression, an attempt by the builders to align their world with the forces of nature, or perhaps even the heavens? One of the most striking aspects of the site is its apparent isolation. The Broch of Clickimin stands alone, with no obvious connections to larger settlements or trade routes. This raises the question: who built this structure, and why did they choose to build it in such a remote and seemingly inhospitable location? Was it the product of a single community, isolated from the wider world? Or was it part of a broader, interconnected network of Broch-building societies across the northern reaches of Scotland? The absence of extensive connections to other sites suggests that the people of Clickimin were living in a world apart, one where their relationship with the land and the sea shaped every aspect of their lives. Adding to the mystery is the abandonment of the site. The Broch of Clickimin, like many other brochs across the region, was eventually abandoned. Yet, unlike other abandoned settlements, Clickimin shows no signs of a violent end. There is no evidence of a destructive fire, warfare, or natural disaster that would explain the site's sudden decline. Instead, the Broch seems to have been left in a gradual, almost deliberate manner. What caused the people of Clickimin to abandon such an imposing and carefully constructed monument? Was it a simple matter of changing economic or social conditions? Or was the Broch's abandonment part of a larger cultural shift that we are still unable to fully grasp? Even as we stand before the Broch of Clickimin, looking up at its weathered walls and imagining the lives of those who once lived within, we are left with more questions than answers. Was this a place of refuge and defense, a center of power, or a spiritual nexus where the people of Shetland sought to align themselves with the forces of nature and the cosmos? The Broch's design, its location, and the artifacts it contains all suggest that it held great significance to its builders. Yet the true purpose of the Broch of Clickimin remains elusive, a mystery that may never be fully explained. As we leave this site, we are left to ponder what might still lie hidden beneath the stones, waiting to reveal the secrets of the people who built this remarkable monument. Leaving behind the enigmatic towers of Shetland, our journey now takes us to the heart of Ireland, where a forgotten fortress rises from the hills, its stone walls weathered by time, but still commanding the landscape. Rathgall Stone Fort, perched high on a hilltop in County Wicklow, stands as a silent sentinel to a world that no longer exists. Surrounded by sweeping views of the surrounding valleys and mountains, the fort is an isolated, hauntingly beautiful place, a place where the past feels just within reach but remains tantalizingly elusive. The fort itself is a marvel of prehistoric engineering. Built during the Iron Age, around 500 BC, Rathgall consists of a series of concentric stone walls that encircle the summit of the hill. The outermost wall, which is the largest and most impressive, rises dramatically from the earth, its stones arranged in a pattern that suggests both purpose and care. Inside the fort, smaller enclosures and structures are scattered across the site, though much of the interior remains unclear. What is known for certain is that Rathgall was a fortified settlement, a place where people lived, worked, and defended themselves against the dangers that once threatened the land. At first glance, Rathgall seems like a typical example of a hill fort, a common type of settlement found throughout ancient Europe. The walls were clearly designed for defense. Thick and imposing, they would have made it difficult for invaders to approach the fort. But as we look closer, we begin to see that Rathgall is not just a military stronghold. The fort's design, with its complex series of walls and internal enclosures, suggests that it was more than just a place of protection. The presence of a large central area, for example, hints that this may have been a center of social, political, or ceremonial activity, a place where decisions were made, where rituals were performed, and where the community gathered to share in common purpose. What were these people doing here? What drove them to build such a monumental structure in such a remote location? Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Rathgall is the mystery surrounding its abandonment. Archaeologists have found little evidence of large-scale destruction or warfare, and yet, like many ancient sites, Rathgall was eventually left behind. There are no signs of a violent end, no burnt remains or signs of battle. Instead, the fort seems to have been abandoned gradually, its people disappearing without a trace. Was it simply a shift in population as the people of Rathgall moved to other, more fertile areas? Or was something more unusual at play, perhaps a sudden cultural or religious shift that caused the people to leave this once important center behind? The lack of clear answers surrounding Rathgall's abandonment has given rise to various speculative theories. Some scholars suggest that the fort was sacrificed to the land itself, that the people may have left willingly, either in search of new lands or as part of a larger cultural transformation. This theory proposes that Rathgall was not simply abandoned due to economic pressures or external threats, but because its builders believed they had fulfilled their purpose at this site. Could it have been a ritualistic abandonment? A way of leaving behind the old ways in search of something new? Others have speculated that Rathgall may have been a spiritual center, a place where the people worshipped gods, ancestors, or natural forces. Its strategic location on a hilltop, offering a commanding view of the surrounding land, could have been seen as a place where the boundary between the physical world and the spiritual realm was thin. Could the construction of the fort have been a way of aligning themselves with cosmic forces, a place to communicate with the divine? And if this was the case, what might the abandonment of Rathgall signify? Did the people leave because they believed the gods had abandoned them? Or was it simply the end of a religious era? Adding to the intrigue of Rathgall is its connection to other ancient hill forts and settlements across Ireland. The fort's design is not unique. It shares many similarities with other Iron Age structures found throughout the country. This has led some to speculate that Rathgall was part of a larger network of settlements, perhaps part of a tribal system or an early kingdom. Were the people of Rathgall part of a larger political structure, one that stretched across the island, only to crumble and fade with time? The evidence for this is scant, but the fort's location and design suggest that it may have played a more important role in the larger social and political landscape than we currently understand. Another mystery surrounding Rathgall is its construction. The sheer scale of the walls and enclosures, along with the care taken in their design, suggests a high level of planning and organization. How did the builders of Rathgall manage to quarry and transport the massive stones that make up the fort's walls? How did they create such a complex structure with the limited tools available to them? It is clear that the people of Rathgall were skilled engineers, but how did they develop the knowledge and techniques to build such an impressive structure? Was it the result of gradual technological development, or could it have been influenced by external cultures with more advanced building techniques? The absence of written records means that we are left to rely on the evidence in the stones themselves, which, though impressive, cannot answer all our questions. And then there is the mystery of what lies beneath the earth at Rathgall. Archaeologists have conducted extensive excavations at the site, but much of the interior remains unexplored. The land around the fort is dotted with smaller enclosures and mounds, suggesting that there may be additional structures hidden beneath the surface. Could there be more walls, rooms, or even buried artifacts waiting to be discovered? If so, what might these new discoveries tell us about the people who once lived here? The site remains a treasure trove of potential knowledge, and with each new excavation, the story of Rathgall continues to evolve. Standing at the edge of Rathgall Stone Fort, gazing out over the hills and valleys that stretch out beneath us, it's hard not to feel the weight of history pressing down. What did the people of Rathgall believe in? What were they trying to achieve with such a monumental construction? And what ultimately led to their disappearance from this place? The answers remain hidden in the stones and earth, waiting for those who are willing to look a little closer. As with so many ancient sites, Rathgall's true purpose may never be fully understood, but it continues to inspire awe and speculation, inviting us to look beyond the surface and consider what may still be buried beneath the ruins. As we step away from the windswept hills of Ireland, our journey now takes us to the vast open steppes of Central Asia, where, amid the endless expanse of grasslands, there exists a site that seems almost forgotten by time itself. Here, in the heart of Kazakhstan, the Begazy megalithic Mausolea stands as a haunting reminder of a civilization whose name has been largely lost to history. Yet, the imposing tombs and enigmatic stone structures that dot this desolate landscape hold within them secrets that continue to intrigue archaeologists and historians to this day. The site is a remarkable complex of megalithic structures, primarily tombs and mausolea, that date back to around 1000 BC. Spanning an area of over 15 square kilometers, the Begazy burial complex is a site of both great mystery and ancient significance. The mausolea themselves are constructed with massive stone blocks, arranged in a series of concentric circles, often with large central chambers. The sheer size and scale of these tombs, and the effort required to build them, suggest that the people who constructed them were not only skilled builders, but also deeply invested in the concept of death, the afterlife, and the social hierarchy that surrounded them. The burial chambers are often surrounded by stone circles or stone alignment patterns that add to the sense of mystery. Many of these stones are engraved with intricate, though still undeciphered, carvings. These carvings, some depicting animals, others abstract patterns, hint at a culture with a deep spiritual and symbolic understanding of the world around them. What did these symbols mean to the people of Begazy? Were they markers of power, spiritual protection, or something more esoteric? These questions remain unanswered, as no written records have survived to provide context for these symbols. At first glance, the Begazy megalithic mausolea appear to be part of a typical burial practice for a nomadic or semi-nomadic society, a way of honoring the dead while marking their place in the world. Yet, as we look deeper into the site, we begin to see that there is much more at play. The tombs are not just ordinary graves, but seem to be carefully arranged according to a deliberate and meaningful design. The alignment of the stones around each mausoleum appears to follow specific patterns, with some tombs oriented toward certain celestial bodies, particularly the sun and the stars. This suggests that the people of Begazy were not simply burying their dead, but were also engaging in a form of astronomical alignment, perhaps as part of a larger ritual or cosmological understanding. Did the builders of Begazy view their tombs as gateways to the afterlife, places where the spirits of the deceased could ascend to the heavens, guided by the stars? The mystery deepens when we consider the people who built these mausolea. Little is known about the culture responsible for the Begazy complex, as they left behind no written records or clearly identifiable artifacts that link them to any known civilization of the time. The site is often associated with the Saka people, a nomadic group who lived in the Eurasian steppes, but the exact nature of their society remains unclear. What did the people of Begazy believe about death, the afterlife, and their relationship with the cosmos? Were they part of a larger, interconnected network of societies, or were they isolated, living in a world apart from other cultures of the time? The layout of the mausolea is also puzzling. Many of the tombs contain the remains of multiple individuals, sometimes with their belongings or offerings placed alongside them. Some archaeologists speculate that these tombs may have been used for dynastic burials, with rulers or tribal leaders buried in elaborate tombs, their family members and close associates laid to rest alongside them. The size of some of the tombs, along with the presence of fine grave goods such as jewelry, weapons, and pottery, suggests that those buried in the mausolea were people of great importance, perhaps chieftains or high-ranking members of a warrior elite. But what was the significance of these items? Were they meant to accompany the deceased in the afterlife, or did they serve as symbols of power and status? And what did these elaborate burial practices reveal about the social and political structures of the people who built the mausolea? In addition to the tombs, the Begazy site also includes several ritualistic features: stone altars, offering pits, and other ceremonial spaces that seem to have been used for spiritual or religious purposes. These structures, found in and around the tombs, suggest that the burial complex was not simply a site for the dead, but also a place for the living to commune with the spirits of their ancestors. Could the people of Begazy have believed in an ongoing connection with the dead, that their ancestors continued to influence the living world? The evidence at the site points to a society with a complex belief system, one that placed a high value on death, memory, and the continuity between the past and the present. Yet, despite all that has been uncovered at Begazy, many questions remain unanswered. While we know that the tombs were built with incredible precision and foresight, the lack of written records means that we are left to interpret the site through a lens of speculation. The carvings and symbols on the stones, the alignments with celestial bodies, and the burial practices all suggest that the people of Begazy were a deeply spiritual and highly organized society, but we cannot know for certain what they believed or how they lived. Were they a singular culture, or did their practices draw from a larger, more complex network of Eurasian steppe cultures? Did the people of Begazy belong to a single tribe, or were they part of a confederation of nomadic groups? Could they have had contact with other ancient civilizations, such as those in the Near East or China, influencing their burial practices and architectural designs? Perhaps the most enduring mystery surrounding the Begazy megalithic mausolea is the question of why the site was abandoned. Like so many ancient burial sites, Begazy was eventually deserted, its purpose fading into the past. There is little evidence of the violence or upheaval that typically marks the end of ancient civilizations, suggesting that the people of Begazy left of their own accord. But why would they abandon such a monumental and carefully constructed burial site? Could it have been the result of a cultural shift, a change in religious practices, political upheaval, or the emergence of new beliefs? Or was the site abandoned due to more practical concerns, such as the depletion of resources, the collapse of social order, or the migration of the population? As we stand before the towering stones of Begazy, looking out over the vast steppe, it's hard not to feel the weight of history pressing down. What happened to the people who built these massive tombs, and why did they invest so much energy and resources into creating such a grand burial complex? The site, with its stones, carvings, and celestial alignments, seems to call out for answers. But those answers remain hidden, waiting for future archaeologists, historians, and researchers to unlock its secrets. The Begazy megalithic mausolea is a testament to a culture lost to time, but also a reminder of how much remains buried in the earth, waiting to be uncovered, understood, and remembered. What mysteries still lie beneath the surface of this ancient site? What insights might the buried stones still offer, should we be able to listen carefully enough? The mystery of Begazy, like so many other ancient sites, is far from solved. It remains an enigma, one that continues to captivate the imagination of all who seek to understand the long-lost past. As we step from the windswept steppe of Central Asia, we now find ourselves in the tranquil, remote South Pacific, where the pulse of ancient history beats against the shores of Tonga. Here, amidst the lush, verdant landscape, stands a monumental testament to the ingenuity of a long-forgotten civilization, the Ha'amonga, a Maui Trilithon. This imposing stone structure, standing tall in the heart of Tonga's main island, is a site that whispers of mysteries yet unsolved, a monument to a people whose ways and beliefs have largely vanished from the historical record. The Ha'amonga, a Maui Trilithon, is not just any stone formation. It is a massive stone gateway, constructed from 3 towering coral limestone slabs. The structure's name, which translates to the Burden of Maui, invokes the Polynesian demigod Maui, a figure whose legendary feats of strength and trickery are woven into the fabric of Pacific myth. Rising about 5.5 meters in height, with each of the upright stones weighing several tons, the Trilithon stands as a solitary, silent witness to a past that is at once distant and enigmatic. Its massive stones, each carefully selected and placed with precision, create an awe-inspiring frame that has intrigued historians, archaeologists, and curious visitors for centuries. At first glance, The Ha-Monga, a Maui Trilithon, seems like a simple construction, an ancient gateway or entryway. But as we look more closely, its true nature begins to reveal itself as something far more complex. The Trilithon is aligned precisely with the rising sun on the summer solstice, suggesting that it may have had astronomical or ceremonial significance. The alignment of the stones with the sun raises intriguing questions. Was this structure used for solar observations? Was it a marker to help the people of Tonga understand the passage of time, the changing seasons, and the rhythms of nature? Or did it serve a more esoteric purpose, perhaps a tool for tracking the heavens, or a means of linking the earth with the cosmos? Despite its imposing size and apparent importance, very little is known about the precise function of the Ha-Monga, a Maui Trilithon. Theories abound, but none can definitively explain the purpose behind its construction. Some scholars suggest that it may have been a ceremonial gateway, a place where religious rituals or rites of passage were performed. The idea that the structure was a symbolic threshold, a gateway to the divine or the ancestors, has long been proposed, especially given the spiritual significance that the Polynesian people placed on the heavens and the stars. Could this stone gateway have been seen as a connection between the physical and spiritual worlds, a place where the living could communicate with the gods or with their ancestors? The name of the structure itself, the Burden of Maui, adds another layer of mystery. Maui is a central figure in Polynesian mythology, a trickster and demigod known for his incredible feats, like pulling the islands from the sea or slowing the sun. The mythological connection raises a tantalizing question. Is the Trilithon itself a monument to Maui's legendary powers? Was it built to commemorate his feats, or to harness his strength in some symbolic way? And if the structure was indeed meant to honor Maui, what might it have signified to the people of Tonga? Was the Ha-Monga, a Maui Trilithon, a tribute to the gods, or a powerful tool for aligning with cosmic forces? Yet the mystery deepens when we consider the construction techniques used to build the Trilithon. How did the builders of this stone monument, centuries ago, manage to transport and lift these massive stones? The coral limestone used in the Trilithon is not native to the immediate area, meaning that the stones had to be transported over great distances, likely from quarries far from the site. What tools did these early Polynesian people use to cut and shape such massive stones with such precision? The techniques used in the construction of the Ha-Monga, a Maui Trilithon, suggest a highly organized and advanced society, capable of feats of engineering that remain impressive even by today's standards. But without written records or other physical evidence, we are left to wonder, were these skills developed independently, or did the people of Tonga borrow ideas and techniques from other cultures across the Pacific? Was there a larger network of seafaring peoples who shared knowledge and resources, or was this isolated ingenuity entirely unique to Tonga? There are also speculative theories that the Ha-Monga, a Maui Trilithon may have been part of a larger, now-lost complex. Some believe that the Trilithon could have served as an entry point to a grander ceremonial site, one that has since been lost to the ravages of time. Could it have been the centerpiece of a massive spiritual complex, with other stone structures or sacred spaces now buried beneath the earth? Could there have been other such monuments across the island, now eroded or hidden from view? The absence of surrounding structures, at least those that have been uncovered, only deepens the mystery. Why was such a monumental structure built in such an isolated location, with little apparent effort to create a larger site or settlement around it? Adding to the intrigue of the Ha-Monga, a Maui Trilithon, is its connection to the larger mythology of the Pacific Islands. Polynesians were, and still are, deeply connected to their myths and legends, and it's possible that the structure's significance was not just physical but symbolic, tied to stories and beliefs that have been passed down through the generations. Could the Trilithon have been a manifestation of cosmological ideas, a tangible symbol of the people's belief in the interconnectedness of the land, the sea, and the sky? Did it mark a place where celestial events like eclipses or solstices were predicted and observed? Was it, in some way, a tool for understanding the natural world? Or was it a place where power and authority were ritualistically enacted? Despite the countless theories, we are still left with far more questions than answers. While the Ha'amanga, a Maui Trilithon, is a remarkable piece of ancient architecture, it is only one part of a larger puzzle. A puzzle whose pieces have been scattered by the winds of time. What is clear is that the Trilithon, like so many other ancient sites, was not simply a monument to the past, but a bridge between the living and the divine, between the known and the unknown. It speaks to a culture that was capable of great achievements in engineering and astronomy, yet whose deeper meanings and purposes remain obscured. Standing at the base of the Ha'amanga, a Maui Trilithon, it's easy to feel a sense of awe, not only for the physical structure before us, but for the mysteries that lie buried within it. The stone slabs are silent, yet they speak to a deeper history, a history of a people who understood their place in the cosmos in ways that we can only begin to imagine. What did the people of Tonga believe when they looked upon these stones, aligned with the sun and the stars? What mysteries did they seek to unlock, and how did they connect the heavens with the earth? As with so many ancient sites, the answers may forever remain just beyond our reach, leaving us to wonder what secrets might still be hidden, waiting to be uncovered. As we leave the Pacific Islands behind, our journey takes us to the dry, sun-drenched plains of central Spain, where the faintest traces of an ancient civilization linger beneath the earth. Here, in the heart of La Mancha, stands the Motilla del Azuer, a mysterious site that has captivated archaeologists and historians for decades. Unlike the iconic ruins of the Mediterranean or the towering monuments of the ancient world, this archaeological complex is more subtle, its significance unfolding slowly, like a secret waiting to be discovered. Motilla del Azuer is not a single monument or structure, but rather an entire fortified settlement, one of several found throughout the Iberian Peninsula, dating back to the late Bronze Age, around 1200 BC. It is set atop a small hill, commanding a sweeping view of the surrounding landscape, with the faintest traces of ancient roads and pathways still visible. The site itself is a motilla, a type of hill fort that is unique to this region, built primarily for defensive purposes. What makes Motilla del Azuer particularly intriguing, however, is not just its strategic location, but the remarkable features that lie beneath the surface, offering glimpses into a civilization that is still largely unknown. The most striking aspect of Motilla del Azuer is its circular construction. A massive earth and stone wall encircles the settlement, creating a defensive barrier that would have been difficult for invaders to breach. Inside the wall, a labyrinth of narrow streets and clustered dwellings forms a complex urban landscape, while at the center of the settlement lies the heart of the site, an enormous circular well, or cistern, which provides the settlement with its only known water source. This well, which sits deep within the heart of the Motilla, is an astonishing feature, both practical and symbolic. Not only did it provide water to the inhabitants, but its very location suggests a deeper connection to the land, to the forces of nature, and perhaps even to the divine. But as impressive as the Motilla del Azuer is in terms of its architectural design, the true mystery of the site lies in its unexpected construction features. Unlike most hill forts, which are primarily built for defense, Motilla del Azuer shows signs of an extraordinary level of social complexity and ritual significance. Beneath the layers of earth, archaeologists have unearthed objects and structures that suggest the settlement was not just a military stronghold, but a hub of cultural and spiritual life. Among the many artifacts found at the site are pottery, tools, and remains of animals, as well as objects that indicate the inhabitants had access to far-flung trade networks, imported materials from as far as the Mediterranean. This raises an intriguing question. What was the role of Motilla del Azuer in the broader social and economic landscape of Iberia at the time? Adding to the intrigue are the ritualistic features found within the Motilla. Some of the structures uncovered resemble altars, while others appear to have been used for communal gatherings. Was Motilla del Azuer more than just a settlement? Could it have been a spiritual center, a place where people came to worship, offer sacrifices, or engage in rites that connected them to higher powers? The central well itself might have served a ritualistic purpose, not merely as a water source, but as a conduit to the divine, a sacred space at the heart of the settlement. Could the well have been seen as a symbol of the earth's life-giving forces, the nexus between the living and the dead, between humans and gods? As we explore Motilla del Azuer, we must also consider the strategic importance of the site. Located in a region that was frequently contested in ancient times, the settlement's defensive features suggest it may have been built to protect the people from outside threats. Yet, there is something unusual about the placement of the settlement. Unlike many other fortified sites, Motilla del Azuer does not sit in an easily defensible position near natural barriers, such as mountains or rivers. Instead, it is positioned on a hilltop, providing a commanding view of the surrounding land but also leaving it exposed to attack. Why would the builders of this site have chosen such a location? Was the strategic advantage of the site more about visibility and control over trade routes, rather than pure defense? Or could the elevated position of the settlement have had a symbolic function, a way of placing the inhabitants closer to the heavens, to the gods, or to the celestial forces they revered? Archaeologists have found traces of intense burning within certain sections of the site, suggesting that it may have been destroyed or abandoned in a violent manner. Yet, the lack of substantial damage to the defensive walls and structures raises further questions. Was the fire a sign of an internal conflict or a sudden catastrophic event that led to the fall of the settlement? Or was it the result of a more gradual process of decay as the people of Motilla del Azuer moved away, leaving their home to fall into ruin? Without more conclusive evidence, the cause of the site's decline remains one of the most enduring mysteries of Motilla del Azuer. There are also speculative theories about the people who built and inhabited Motilla del Azuer. While some suggest that the settlement was part of a larger regional network of trading societies, others argue that it may have been the seat of an early Iberian civilization, one whose complex social structures, cultural practices, and religious beliefs have long since disappeared from the historical record. Could the settlement have been connected to other, more well-known Iberian cultures, such as the Tartessians or the Celts? Or was it an independent, isolated community, one that developed its unique practices and beliefs over time? The lack of written records leaves these questions open, allowing us only to speculate based on the physical evidence we have unearthed. Even as we stand before the ruins of Motilla del Azuer, gazing at the broken stones and the remnants of ancient walls, we cannot escape the sense that something remains hidden beneath the earth. There are still areas of the settlement that have yet to be excavated, and who knows what secrets lie beneath the surface. Could there be more hidden chambers, more rituals, or more traces of an ancient people whose history was all but lost? The presence of imported artifacts and spiritual markers suggests that Motilla del Azuer may have been a place of great significance, both socially and religiously. But the true nature of that significance remains elusive. What we do know is that Motilla del Azuer offers us a glimpse into a world that existed long before written history, a world of complex societies, ritual practices, and deep connections to the land and the cosmos. The site, with its intricate design and enigmatic features, reminds us that the people who lived there were not simply defending themselves from outside threats, but also constructing a world of meaning and symbolism that transcended the mundane. They built this settlement not just to survive, but to thrive, spiritually, socially, and perhaps even cosmologically. As we leave the site, the air heavy with the weight of unanswered questions, we are left to wonder, what were the true beliefs of the people of Motilla del Azuer? How did they view their place in the universe, and what drove them to create such a remarkable settlement in the first place? The answers may lie beneath the surface, waiting for the next generation of archaeologists to uncover. But for now, the mystery remains unsolved, and the ruins of Motilla del Azuer continue to stand as a testament to the complexity and wonder of a civilization lost to time. As we leave behind the arid plains and ancient hill forts of Spain, our next stop takes us deep into the heart of the Caucasus, a land rich with mystery and history, where the echoes of ancient civilizations reverberate through the mountains. Here, nestled on a dramatic hilltop in Georgia, stands a site that has baffled archaeologists and historians for centuries, the Abuli Fortress. Overlooking the lush, rugged terrain of the surrounding valley, the fortress is both awe-inspiring and enigmatic, a silent sentinel guarding secrets that have long remained hidden in the folds of time. Abuli Fortress sits atop a high ridge in the Georgian Caucasus, its stone walls still rising proudly against the backdrop of mist-shrouded peaks. From the vantage point of the fortress, the panoramic view of the surrounding landscape is nothing short of breathtaking, an expansive valley bordered by jagged mountains, with forests that stretch endlessly into the distance. Yet as impressive as the natural scenery is, it is the fortress itself that captures the imagination. Constructed from large, carefully hewn stones, the fortress is an imposing structure, built with strategic precision to control access to the valley below. Its location alone suggests a deep understanding of military defense, as it commands the surrounding area, offering those within its walls a clear view of any approaching threat. However, there is something extraordinary about the Abuli Fortress that sets it apart from other similar structures of the region. Unlike the more commonly known fortresses, which are designed primarily for defense, Abuli's layout and design reveal a far more complex purpose. It is believed to have been built during the medieval period, most likely in the 9th or 10th century AD, by the Georgian kingdom of Tau Klarjeti, a kingdom that flourished during the early medieval period. But what raises questions is the sheer scale of its construction, as well as the unexpected features that lie within. The fortress is unusually large for a structure of its time, covering several hectares of land, and its walls are made of a combination of finely cut stones and natural rock, a technique that suggests a highly skilled workforce. Unlike other fortresses that were primarily built for military purposes, Abuli also contains a series of intricate, well-preserved chambers and complex underground tunnels, some of which extend deep into the heart of the mountain itself. These features hint at a level of social organization and strategic foresight that goes beyond mere defense. Could the fortress have been more than just a military stronghold? Might it have also served as a symbol of power, a statement of authority not just over the land, but over the people who lived in its shadow? The tunnels that run beneath Abuli Fortress are particularly intriguing. These subterranean passages, many of which are still accessible, have yet to be fully explored, and their exact purpose remains uncertain. Some suggest that they were used for escape routes, allowing the fortress's inhabitants to flee in times of danger. Others believe that the tunnels may have served as a means of communication, enabling those inside the fortress to send messages to the outside world without being detected. Could they have also been part of a larger ritualistic or ceremonial system? Given the fortress's location, high in the mountains and isolated from the rest of the world, the presence of underground spaces might hint at more esoteric practices. Was the fortress built with a symbolic purpose in mind, perhaps to connect the physical world with the spiritual, or to represent a cosmic order? The construction techniques of the fortress itself are another aspect that invites speculation. The precision with which the stones were cut and fitted together suggests an advanced understanding of architecture and engineering, one that was not common for the time. Could the builders of Abuli have had access to knowledge that has since been lost? Or was their expertise the result of trade and interaction with more advanced cultures? The question of how such a large and intricate structure was built with the available technology of the time remains unanswered. Could the people of the Caucasus have had more sophisticated methods at their disposal than we are aware of? Beyond the construction, there are also mysterious carvings and symbols scattered throughout the fortress, etched into the walls and stones. Some of these markings are believed to be inscriptions in ancient Georgian, while others appear to be more cryptic, their meaning lost to time. Were these carvings mere decorative elements, or did they hold a deeper, more profound significance? Some researchers have suggested that the symbols might have been linked to religious or ritualistic practices, perhaps related to local beliefs or deities. The question remains, what did these markings mean to the people who left them behind, and why were they so prominently displayed on the fortress walls? The history of the fortress is as shrouded in mystery as its construction. While it is clear that Abuli played a significant role in the medieval defense of the region, the exact circumstances of its rise and fall remain unclear. Some accounts suggest that it was abandoned during a period of political instability, possibly during invasions by the Mongols or other outside forces. Yet there are no clear records to explain why the fortress was left to decay. Was its abandonment the result of war, or did it signify a deeper cultural shift, one in which the fortress, once a symbol of power, lost its significance? Was Abuli simply a victim of changing times, or did the collapse of the fortress mark the end of an era in the region? In recent years, the fortress has been the subject of renewed interest, with archaeologists and researchers seeking to uncover more about its purpose and history. However, much of Abuli Fortress remains untouched, its tunnels and chambers still largely unexplored, its secrets waiting to be uncovered. The site continues to beckon, drawing those who seek answers to its mysteries, yet offering only fragments of its past. What else lies hidden within the fortress's walls? Could there be more undiscovered chambers, more inscriptions, or even forgotten artifacts that could shed light on the true purpose of the fortress? Or is it possible that the secrets of Abuli Fortress are lost to time forever, its meaning sealed within the mountain, waiting for future generations to unravel? As we stand before the towering stones of the Abuli Fortress, we are reminded of the vastness of history and of how much we still do not understand. This ancient stronghold, with its strategic position, complex construction, and enigmatic symbols, stands as a powerful testament to the ingenuity and mystery of a long-lost people. What we have uncovered so far is merely the tip of the iceberg, a tantalizing glimpse into a world that once existed in the shadows of the Caucasus Mountains. And as with so many ancient sites, the true story of Abuli remains untold, waiting to reveal its secrets to those who are patient enough to listen. What mysteries lie buried beneath its stones? What role did this fortress play in the turbulent history of the region? And most importantly, what secrets does it still keep hidden, waiting to be uncovered? These are questions that continue to linger in the air, unanswered, but not forgotten. The story of Abuli Fortress is far from over, and the journey to understand its purpose has only just begun. As we leave the towering fortresses and vast landscapes of the Caucasus, our journey now takes us to a much smaller, yet equally mysterious corner of the ancient world, the rugged island of Minorca in the western Mediterranean. Here, nestled on the outskirts of a quiet valley, lies a site whose true purpose remains one of the most enigmatic puzzles of the prehistoric Mediterranean, the Naveta des Tudons. This megalithic structure, unlike the grand temples and fortifications of other ancient civilizations, is an austere and silent monument that carries the weight of a forgotten past, its purpose shrouded in mystery and speculation. At first glance, the Naveta des Tudons may seem simple in form, an elongated stone-built structure with a smooth, curved roof that gently rises against the island's clear blue sky. The word Naveta itself means little ship in Catalan, a fitting name for a structure that resembles the shape of an upturned boat. However, this seemingly humble burial chamber, built of massive stones carefully stacked without mortar, conceals far more than its outward appearance might suggest. At nearly 14 meters long, 6 meters wide, and 5 meters tall, the structure is imposing in its own right. Yet it stands as a mere fragment of something far larger, an ancient society whose customs and beliefs remain elusive. The Naveta des Tudons dates back to the Bronze Age, around 1000 BC, though some estimates place its construction even earlier. It is believed to have been used as a communal burial site, serving as the final resting place for the island's elite, or perhaps a wider segment of the community. The precise nature of these burials is not entirely understood. Archaeologists have uncovered the skeletal remains of dozens of individuals, buried in a collective manner, their bones arranged within the tomb's dark, cool interior. Yet, the exact rituals surrounding the burials, and who the individuals interred within the Naveta were, remain unclear. What can we infer from these graves? Were these people revered leaders, warriors, or perhaps priests? Were they a symbol of the island's social hierarchy, or was the practice of communal burial meant to unify the living with the dead in some spiritual way? Despite its apparent simplicity, the Naveta des Tudons is far from an ordinary burial tomb. Its construction is remarkable for its time, and the purpose of its unusual shape has sparked much debate. The design, with its pointed roof and boat-like form, suggests a deep connection to the sea, perhaps a reflection of the maritime culture of the Menorcan people. Was the shape of the tomb a representation of the afterlife as a journey, a voyage across the waters to another world? The islanders of Minorca were skilled sailors, navigating the Mediterranean with ease, and it's possible that the shape of the Naveta des Tudons was symbolic of this passage, both physical and spiritual. Could the structure itself have been seen as a kind of boat to carry the deceased across the boundaries of life and death? The use of such an intricate burial structure also raises questions about the social structure of the society that built it. The people of Minorca were living in a time before written records, relying on oral traditions and symbolic representations to convey meaning. Could the Naveta des Tudons have served as a marker of social status? The remains of individuals found within the tomb suggest a degree of organization and perhaps stratification within the society. Were those buried within the tomb members of a powerful elite whose influence extended across the island? Or was this a burial place for all the community, a symbolic equalizer in death? The construction of the Naveta des Tudons itself is an impressive feat of engineering. The large stones used to build the structure are thought to have been quarried from local sites, yet the precision with which they were cut and fitted together is remarkable for its time. The tomb's walls taper inward as they rise, creating the distinctive boat-like shape, and the roof, which was once topped with a large stone cap, was constructed in a series of overlapping slabs. What is particularly fascinating is the use of dry stone construction, without any mortar to bind the stones together. This technique, while common in the prehistoric Mediterranean, raises questions about the methods employed by the islanders. How did they move these massive stones? Were advanced tools and techniques involved, or was it a matter of ingenuity and communal effort? The fact that the tomb has stood for over 3,000 years, enduring the harsh winds and salt air of the Mediterranean, speaks to the durability and craftsmanship of the builders. The layout of the Naveta des Tudons is also of interest. While the tomb is primarily circular in plan, it is divided into two chambers, one for the elite and another for the commoners. This division suggests a deliberate attempt to segregate the dead, perhaps reflecting social distinctions that were present in life. Could the positioning of the dead within the tomb be a reflection of their social roles or status in the community? Or might it be a way of demonstrating that all were equal in death, no matter their station in life? Adding to the intrigue of the Naveta des Tudons is its alignment with celestial events. Some researchers suggest that the structure was constructed with astronomical observations in mind, possibly marking the passage of the sun or certain constellations. The orientation of the tomb relative to the surrounding landscape and the rising and setting of the sun on specific days of the year could have held great significance for the people of Minorca. Was the tomb not just a burial place, but also a ceremonial site, where the living communicated with the heavens and the earth? Could the alignment of the tomb have been tied to ancient beliefs about the afterlife or cosmic cycles? Such questions remain speculative, as we have no written records to provide clarity, but the possibility that the tomb may have had astronomical significance invites further exploration. Another compelling aspect of the Naveta des Tudons is the broader context of megalithic structures on Minorca. This island is home to several other megalithic monuments, including standing stones and other burial structures, each with its own peculiarities. Was the Naveta des Tudons part of a larger, island-wide system of ritual and ceremonial spaces? What was the role of these structures within the broader cultural landscape of Minorca, and how were they connected to other Mediterranean civilizations at the time? Evidence of trade and cultural exchange with the wider Mediterranean world suggests that the islanders may have had contact with other advanced societies, and it is possible that the construction techniques and symbolism behind the Naveta des Tudons were influenced by these interactions. Despite all of the fascinating discoveries made at the site, the mystery of the Naveta des Tudons remains far from resolved. While we can make educated guesses about its function, its purpose, and the people who built it, there is still so much that we do not know. Was it a site of religious ritual, a symbol of power, or simply a practical burial place for the dead? What role did it play in the society that constructed it, and what messages were the people of Minorca trying to convey with such an extraordinary monument? Standing before the ancient stones of the Naveta des Tudons, we are reminded that the questions surrounding it are not easily answered. The structure still holds secrets, and its true purpose remains a mystery, one that continues to captivate the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and visitors alike. As we leave this site behind, we are left with the same questions that have haunted those before us. What lies beneath the surface of this stone boat? And what other mysteries might still be waiting to be uncovered in the shadow of this ancient monument? As we leave the sun-bleached stones of Minorca behind, our journey takes us to a quiet, forested valley in France, far from the bustle of modern life, hidden in the stillness of the land where an ancient mystery lies waiting to be uncovered. In the region of Île-de-France, not far from Paris, stands a peculiar monument that has drawn the attention of historians and archaeologists for centuries: the Dolmen de Bagneux. This megalithic structure, with its massive stone slabs arranged in a distinct pattern, evokes a sense of timelessness. The dolmen's stones, some weighing several tons, are arranged into a chamber-like structure, their surfaces worn by the passage of millennia. The dolmen stands in solitary quietude, surrounded by trees and grass, a relic from an era long past when the earth was a different place, and people viewed the world through an entirely different lens. There is something about the Dolmen de Bagneux that gives it an air of both mystery and serenity, as if it has stood here for eternity, guarding its secrets. The structure is part of the rich tradition of megalithic monuments scattered across Europe, many of which date back to the Neolithic period, approximately 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. The Dolmen de Bagneux is thought to have been built around 3,500 BC, placing it firmly within the period when early human societies were transitioning from nomadic to settled agricultural lifestyles. It is one of several dolmens in the region, part of a broader network of megalithic constructions that once formed part of the sacred landscapes of prehistoric Europe. Today, the dolmen stands as a silent reminder of the rituals, beliefs, and practices of the people who built it, yet much about it remains unexplained. The dolmen itself is a stunning piece of architecture, composed of several upright stones supporting a large flat capstone that forms the roof of the chamber. The arrangement is typical of the dolmen style, but it is the placement of the stones and the intricacy of the structure that invites speculation. Was this monument constructed for burial purposes, as many other dolmens are believed to have been, or did it have some other, more esoteric function? The chamber of the dolmen, while compact, is surprisingly well preserved, its structure still intact despite centuries of erosion and weathering. The heavy capstone, which weighs several tons, seems to hover above the chamber with a sense of weightlessness, as if defying the forces of nature. What makes the Dolmen de Bagneux especially intriguing is the purpose it served, and indeed, the mystery of its intended function. Traditionally, dolmens are thought to have served as tombs for important individuals or as sites of ritual burial, where the dead were placed for final rites. The people who built these structures may have believed that the stones served as conduits to the afterlife, or perhaps as markers of status and power. However, the Dolmen de Bagneux presents a puzzle in this regard. Archaeological excavations have yielded very few human remains from the site, and there is little direct evidence of burial rituals associated with it. This raises an intriguing question. Could the dolmen have been used for other purposes, perhaps ceremonial, rather than solely as a tomb? Some researchers speculate that the dolmen could have been a site for astronomical observations, aligning with certain celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes. The idea that the dolmen might have had cosmological significance is not far-fetched, as many megalithic structures across Europe show evidence of such alignments. Could the builders of the Dolmen de Bagneux have used the structure as a place to mark the passage of the seasons, to predict celestial events, or to track the movements of the sun and moon? Could the dolmen have served as a way to connect the earth to the heavens, to synchronize human life with the rhythms of the universe? Adding to the mystery are the strange carvings found on some of the stones of the dolmen. While the carvings themselves are minimal, there are faint, worn-out symbols that some have interpreted as representations of sacred geometry, while others believe they may be representations of stars or constellations. The purpose of these markings remains speculative, but it is possible that they were part of some sort of ritual or symbolic system that we are only beginning to understand. Were these symbols tied to the belief systems of the people who built the dolmen? Were they a form of communication with the divine, or a way to understand their place in the cosmos? As with many ancient monuments, these symbols invite interpretation, and the answers remain elusive. Beyond its potential astronomical and ceremonial significance, the construction of the dolmen itself raises questions about the advanced engineering knowledge possessed by the people who built it. The sheer size and weight of the stones used to construct the dolmen suggest a level of organization and planning that was beyond the scope of many early societies. How did these people manage to transport such massive stones to the site, especially given the lack of advanced tools and machinery? Some researchers suggest that the stones may have been quarried from nearby locations, but the question remains: what methods were used to move these enormous stones into place? Could the builders have had access to techniques that have been lost to time? Or was their success in construction simply the result of ingenuity and a collective effort? The location of the Dolmen de Bagneux also adds another layer to its mystery. Situated in a quiet, rural area surrounded by forests and fields, the dolmen is far removed from the bustling centers of ancient society. Why, then, was such a monumental structure built in this remote location? Was it a place of deep spiritual significance to the people of the region, chosen for its proximity to nature and the natural world? Or was it positioned here for purely practical reasons, such as its strategic position for monitoring the land and its inhabitants? The lack of other large settlements nearby suggests that the dolmen may have been part of a smaller, more isolated community whose beliefs and practices were distinct from the larger cultural forces of the time. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Dolmen de Bagneux is the fact that so much remains unknown. Despite years of archaeological research, the full story of the dolmen and its builders remains buried beneath the earth. The few fragments of evidence we have, a handful of bones, some faint carvings, are not enough to answer the pressing questions that still linger. What was the true purpose of this ancient structure? Was it a tomb, a place of ritual, or something else entirely? Theories abound, but the answers remain frustratingly out of reach. As we stand before the weathered stones of the Dolmen de Bagneux, we are left with more questions than answers. The dolmen is a monument to a time long past, a reminder of a people whose beliefs, practices, and knowledge we can only begin to understand. And yet, as we peer into the shadows of this ancient structure, we are reminded of how much still remains hidden, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to be understood. The Dolmen de Bagneux, like so many other megalithic monuments, offers a glimpse into a world that has been lost to time, and its secrets may never fully reveal themselves. But the questions it raises will continue to echo across the centuries, inviting us to wonder, what is the true purpose of this enigmatic monument, and what other mysteries might still lie buried beneath the soil? In the heart of the English countryside, surrounded by lush green fields and the undulating landscape of Wiltshire, there stands a monument that has endured for millennia, quietly guarding its secrets. The West Kennet Long Barrow, an ancient burial mound dating back to around 3500 BC, is one of the most enigmatic and well-preserved prehistoric sites in Britain. As you approach it, the long, low silhouette of the barrow rises gently from the ground, its earthen mound covered in wild grasses and creeping ivy. The air around it feels heavy with history, as if the very earth beneath your feet holds the weight of centuries of stories. Yet it is a place where the past is both visible and hidden, inviting questions that seem to have no clear answers. The West Kennet Long Barrow is part of a larger network of Neolithic burial sites, known for their ceremonial significance and their association with the people who lived during the Late Stone Age. The site itself is a long barrow, a type of prehistoric tomb made of large stones, often covered with earth to form a long, low mound. When it was originally constructed, it was a vast, monumental structure, far larger than it appears today. Its purpose, as with many similar sites, was to house the dead, but the mystery lies in the specifics of its use and what it might have represented to the people who built it. As you step into the barrow's darkened interior, the cold, damp air inside feels like a portal to another time. The chamber is long and narrow, constructed from massive stone slabs that seem almost impossibly large for the technology available to Neolithic builders. The structure consists of several compartments, each one designed to hold human remains, with niches and stone-lined tombs where bodies would have been placed. Archaeological excavations have revealed that over 50 individuals were buried within the barrow, but the burial practices themselves are far from ordinary. Some bodies were interred whole, while others were disarticulated, their bones placed in specific positions within the tomb. The significance of this variation is unclear, Why were some bodies buried intact, while others were not? One of the most intriguing aspects of the West Kennet Long Barrow is the fact that it appears to have been in use for centuries, possibly even millennia. It is not just a single tomb, but a monument that evolved over time, with different generations of people adding to and altering its structure. The complex layering of burials suggests that the site had great cultural significance, perhaps as a site of ancestral veneration or as a symbol of continuity and community. But what did this site mean to the people of the Neolithic? What beliefs and practices did they hold that led them to invest such effort in creating this monumental tomb? And why did they choose to bury their dead in this way, over generations, within the same space? Some scholars suggest that the West Kennet Long Barrow was part of a wider ceremonial complex that included other nearby sites, such as the Silbury Hill and the Avebury Stone Circle, both of which are within a few miles of the barrow. This raises the possibility that the barrow was not just a burial site, but also a ritual center, a place where the living and the dead could be connected. It might have been used for ancestor worship, with the dead seen as an important part of the community who continued to have influence even after death. Were these people trying to connect with their ancestors through these elaborate burial practices? Could the Long Barrow have been seen as a way to maintain a continuous relationship with the dead, ensuring that their influence remained strong in the world of the living? The architecture of the West Kennet Long Barrow itself offers some hints at its deeper significance. Unlike some other Neolithic burial sites, which are simple mounds or stone circles, the Long Barrow is a carefully planned, almost engineered structure. The stones that form the burial chambers are carefully shaped and fitted together, creating a space that feels intentional and purposeful. The fact that such a large structure was constructed to house the dead suggests that it was a place of great importance, perhaps a central location for the community, a symbol of power, or a physical representation of the people's cosmological beliefs. The careful alignment of the structure and the placement of the stones might suggest that the builders were highly aware of the land and its connection to the heavens. Could the barrow have been designed to align with the movements of the sun or stars, as a way to honor the gods or mark the passage of time? The surrounding landscape also offers clues about the barrow's role in the broader spiritual and ritualistic practices of the time. The proximity of the Long Barrow to other sacred sites, like Silbury Hill, suggests that this area may have been a ritual landscape, where multiple monuments worked together to form a larger cosmological and spiritual framework. Was the Long Barrow just one part of a complex system of beliefs that spanned across the land, connecting different communities through shared rituals and customs? The sheer scale of the site and its connection to other nearby structures indicate that this region may have been a focal point for ceremonial activity, where the boundaries between the physical world and the spiritual realm were blurred. Despite centuries of study, many questions about the West Kennet Long Barrow remain unanswered. Why was this site chosen for such an important function? Why did people return to it over and over again, adding new layers of burials and extending the structure's use? What was the cultural significance of the practices associated with it? And most importantly, what did it mean to those who built it and visited it? Perhaps the most compelling mystery of the West Kennet Long Barrow is its connection to the passage of time. The barrow has stood for thousands of years, and while the people who built it are long gone, their presence still lingers in the stones and earth. The act of burial itself, interring the dead and offering them a space where their memory could endure, was a way to ensure that the past remained alive in the present. Did the builders of the Long Barrow understand their connection to the land in the same way that we do today? Or did they view themselves as part of an ongoing cycle of life and death, bound together by the ancestors and the spirits of the land? As we stand at the threshold of the West Kennet Long Barrow, it is easy to imagine the people who once gathered here, in the shadow of the great stones, performing rites that have long since been forgotten. The mysteries of the Barrow remain unsolved, but its presence is a testament to the enduring human desire to understand life, death, and the world beyond. We are left to wonder, what was the true purpose of the West Kennet Long Barrow? Was it simply a burial site, or was it a place of profound spiritual significance, a site where the living and the dead could commune with one another? What other secrets might the Long Barrow hold, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? These questions linger in the stillness of the Barrow, inviting us to look deeper into the past and continue the search for answers that may never come. After immersing ourselves in the ancient monuments of the British Isles, our journey now takes us to a remote, almost mystical corner of the world, Japan's northernmost island of Hokkaido. Here, deep in the dense forests, hidden from the eyes of the modern world, we encounter an archaeological enigma that has puzzled researchers for centuries: the Jomon stone circles. At first glance, these ancient stone structures, scattered across the lush landscapes of Hokkaido, may appear like nothing more than simple arrangements of stones. But the truth is far more complex, and the history they carry is shrouded in mystery. The Jomon people, the enigmatic group responsible for these structures, were one of the earliest societies to settle in Japan, with their origins dating back over 12,000 years. Long before the advent of written history, these people built and crafted their world with great precision, leaving behind mysterious marks of their existence that defy easy explanation. The Jomon stone circles are some of the most striking of these remnants. Spread across Hokkaido and the surrounding islands, these stone structures are made up of carefully arranged stones, often forming circular patterns that are unmistakably deliberate in their placement. Some of the circles are small and modest, with only a few stones, while others are much larger, with intricate layouts that suggest a well-developed understanding of geometry and spatial arrangement. When standing in the presence of these formations, the air seems to hold a certain stillness, a reminder that we are looking at a place where history, ritual, and nature have been intertwined for millennia. The first recorded discovery of these stone circles came in the late 19th century, but it wasn't until the 20th century that their true significance began to be understood. Today, over 100 such sites have been identified across the island of Hokkaido, yet the true purpose behind their construction remains elusive. Unlike the stone circles of Europe, like Stonehenge, which are often associated with astronomical alignments, the Jomon stone circles don't appear to follow any clear celestial pattern. This has led researchers to wonder, what was their purpose? Was the design of the stone circles purely ceremonial? Were they used as burial sites, as many other ancient stone structures around the world were? Or were they something else entirely? Ritualistic centers for the Jomon people, places where they gathered to connect with the spirits of the land, or perhaps with celestial forces beyond their understanding. These questions have no clear answers, and it is possible that we will never truly know the full extent of the role the stone circles played in the lives of the Jomon people. One theory posits that the stone circles may have been used for ritual purposes. This idea is supported by the careful placement of the stones, which suggests intentional design and a belief in the power of spatial arrangement. The Jomon people were known for their deeply spiritual practices, and many of their other artifacts, such as pottery, contain symbolic motifs and images of deities, animals, and forces of nature. Could the stone circles have been sites where the Jomon people performed sacred rituals, paying homage to the earth, the elements, and the spirits they believed resided in the natural world? It is important to note that the Jomon people were not just hunter-gatherers. They were also skilled artisans, known for their intricate pottery, weaving, and even early forms of agriculture. The complex craftsmanship seen in their pottery and tools suggests that the Jomon people possessed advanced skills and a profound understanding of their environment. The stone circles may therefore have been an extension of this cultural sophistication, reflecting a society that, while disconnected from modern technology, had a deep and intricate relationship with their surroundings. Could these stone structures have been used in conjunction with their agricultural practices, marking seasons, times for planting or harvesting? An even more fascinating theory is that the Jomon stone circles might have been used for astronomical purposes. Some researchers suggest that the stones were placed to align with certain celestial events, such as solstices or lunar cycles. The placement of the stones could have marked the changing of seasons, guiding the people in their agricultural endeavors, or it could have had a symbolic function, representing the alignment between human life and the cosmos. This idea aligns with the belief systems of many ancient cultures, where the cycles of the heavens were thought to have a direct impact on life on Earth. However, there is no definitive evidence to support this theory, and the idea of the Jomon people engaging in detailed astronomical observation is still a subject of debate. The lack of precise alignments, when compared to sites like Stonehenge or the Egyptian pyramids, calls into question whether the stone circles were truly constructed with celestial events in mind, or whether their design had a different, yet equally significant purpose. Another hypothesis involves the social structure of the Jomon people. The stone circles could have served as a kind of meeting place, where individuals from different tribes or communities came together for communal gatherings, trade, or ritualistic practices. The Jomon people were known for their complex social systems, and it is possible that these stone structures acted as markers for territory or sacred spaces, with the gatherings in these circles reinforcing social bonds and collective identity. Additionally, the question of who built these stone circles remains a point of speculation. The Jomon people lived in small, scattered communities, and their society was not centralized in the way that later civilizations, such as those in Egypt or Mesopotamia, would be. How, then, did they coordinate the construction of such intricate and large-scale structures? Was it the work of a single community, or did several groups contribute to the formation of the circles over time? Could the stone circles have been constructed over generations, with each group adding their own stones and modifying the design? The location of the stone circles also raises interesting questions. Many of them are found in remote natural settings, deep in forests or along the coastlines of Hokkaido. Why were these particular sites chosen? Was it the natural environment that held significance, such as proximity to water, which was vital for survival? Or was there something in the land itself that made these locations sacred? Perhaps these spots were seen as gateways between the physical and spiritual worlds, chosen for their inherent connection to the rhythms of nature. One of the most compelling aspects of the Jomon stone circles is the sheer mystery that surrounds them. No written records from the Jomon people have survived, and their oral traditions, if they existed, have long since disappeared. All that remains are these cryptic stone formations, scattered across the landscape like forgotten messages from a lost world. While we may never fully understand the purpose of the Jomon stone circles, they remain a testament to the ingenuity and spiritual depth of the people who built them. As we stand before these ancient stones, we are left with more questions than answers. Were the Jomon stone circles markers of time, guiding the seasons of their agricultural practices? Were they places of ritual, where the Jomon people connected with the forces of nature and the heavens? Or were they perhaps something else entirely, symbols of a deeper, unspoken understanding of the world that has been lost to time? Whatever their purpose, the Jomon stone circles continue to stand as a silent reminder of the complexity of early human societies. Though they are but stones, their presence evokes a sense of wonder, calling us to look beyond the surface and contemplate the mysteries that still lie buried beneath the earth. As we leave the stone circles behind, we are reminded that the true answers may forever remain hidden, waiting for future generations to unlock their secrets. As we journey deeper into the heart of Europe, our next stop takes us to a site of eerie and breathtaking mystery. Sarmizegetusa Regia, an ancient fortress nestled within the rugged mountains of Romania. Once the heart of the Dacian kingdom, this sprawling complex of ruins lies hidden within the dense forests of the Orashtia Mountains, where the surrounding landscape gives the impression of a long-forgotten world, untouched by time, yet steeped in enigma. The site itself is remarkable, an ancient city surrounded by massive, jagged stone walls, many of which have stood for more than 2 millennia. The first thing that strikes you as you stand at the edge of the ruins is the sheer scale of the place. The stone fortifications are not only impressive for their size, but also for their craftsmanship. Massive blocks of stone, carefully stacked and interlocked, suggest that the Dacians possessed advanced engineering skills. The landscape is dotted with large ceremonial platforms, geometric formations, and abandoned temples that evoke a sense of awe and wonder. Yet, despite its grandeur, Sarmizegetusa Regia is shrouded in mystery. The fortress once served as the capital of the Dacian kingdom, which thrived in the region before it was conquered by the Roman Empire in the 1st century BC. What we see today is but a shadow of the city that once stood here, its splendor reduced to a collection of stone remnants. But these ruins still whisper tales of a once great civilization. Who were the Dacians, and why did they choose this particular location to build their most sacred city? And what was the true purpose of the site, which continues to confound archaeologists and historians alike? Sarmizegetusa Regia was constructed in a strategic location, high in the mountains, with sweeping views of the surrounding valleys. This elevated position would have provided both a tactical advantage in times of conflict and a sense of spiritual elevation, an important feature for a civilization whose religious beliefs were deeply tied to the natural world. The Dacians believed in a pantheon of deities closely connected to the earth, the sun, and the stars, and it is possible that the placement of the site was intended to honor these celestial forces. But could there be more to this site than just a religious or military center? The most fascinating aspect of the Sarmizegetusa Regia ruins lies in the presence of a series of geometric stone structures scattered throughout the site. These formations are both mystifying and captivating, with their precise alignments and symmetrical patterns suggesting that the Dacians may have had a deep understanding of astronomy. The most intriguing of these formations is the Sacred Circle, a stone structure believed to have had astronomical or ritual significance. But what was its purpose? Was it a site for tracking celestial events, or did it serve as a location for sacred ceremonies tied to the Dacian gods? These questions are made all the more pressing when we consider the strange alignment of the stone structures. Some of the large stone blocks at Sarmizegetusa Regia appear to have been deliberately arranged to align with the positions of the sun and moon during solstices and equinoxes. Was this evidence of an advanced understanding of astronomy, or could there be a more mystical explanation? Some researchers have even speculated that the Dacians may have used these stone circles to chart the movements of the stars, establishing a connection between the heavens and the earth. Was Sarmizegetusa Regia more than just a fortress or a city? It could have been a cosmic observatory, a place where the Dacians sought to harness the power of the universe itself. But it is not only the stone structures that create an air of mystery at Sarmizegetusa Regia. The discovery of various artifacts, from pottery to tools and weapons, suggests that this was a thriving community. Yet, unlike other ancient cities that were built to accommodate large populations, the remnants of Sarmizegetusa Regia reveal a much smaller, more isolated society. Why was such a powerful city constructed in this remote location, far from the fertile plains and easy access to trade routes? Did the Dacians build their capital in the mountains as a way to protect themselves from invaders, or was it part of a spiritual design, a place to be closer to the divine forces they worshipped. There is also the question of the Dacian forts that surround the main site. These fortifications, built into the hillsides, seem to stretch across the landscape like a network of defensive strongholds, and yet their purpose remains unclear. Were these simply military outposts, or could they have had other, perhaps more mysterious uses? Some scholars have suggested that they may have been part of a larger network of Dacian spiritual sites, perhaps even serving as places where the Dacians practiced a form of ritual warfare, a belief that the forces of the land, the sky, and the ancestors were engaged in an eternal struggle. Could Sarmizegetusa Regia, in its isolation, have been the focal point of this cosmic battle? As we delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding Sarmizegetusa Regia, we cannot ignore the fact that the site was abandoned long before the Romans arrived. After its fall to the Roman Empire, the site fell into obscurity, and much of the knowledge of its purpose was lost. In the centuries that followed, the ruins were slowly reclaimed by nature, the once proud city becoming little more than a forgotten relic of the past. This begs the question, what happened to the Dacians who lived here? Why did they abandon such a monumental site, leaving behind only these cryptic stone structures and fragments of their civilization? The conquest of the Dacians by the Romans has long been considered a significant turning point in the history of the region. But was this the end of the story for Sarmizegetusa Regia? Or was there more to the story? Could the Dacians have left the site for reasons beyond the threat of Roman expansion? Some have speculated that the fall of the Dacian kingdom may have been part of a larger cosmic or spiritual event, a moment in history where the very forces of the universe dictated that the time of the Dacians had come to an end. Yet, while the ruins of Sarmizegetusa Regia stand as a powerful symbol of Dacian strength and spirituality, many questions remain unanswered. Despite extensive excavation and study, the true purpose of the sacred stone circles, the alignment of the structures, and the significance of the Dacian fortifications continue to elude us. What mysteries did the Dacians leave behind? Were they simply marking the passage of time, or were they attempting to communicate with forces far beyond human comprehension? The stones that remain at Sarmizegetusa Regia speak a language that is as old as the land itself. Each stone is a witness to a time long past, yet it continues to hold secrets that we have yet to uncover. The purpose of this ancient site may never be fully understood, but its silence invites us to continue asking questions. As we walk among the ruins of Sarmizegetusa Regia, we are reminded that the past is never truly gone. It lingers, hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for the curious to uncover its mysteries. And perhaps, in time, we will discover what the Dacians sought to protect and understand in this remote and sacred place. Until then, the answers remain just beyond reach, tucked away in the shadows of the past, waiting to be revealed. As our journey through time continues, we now find ourselves in the highlands of Peru, where an ancient mystery beckons us, one buried beneath the rolling hills of the central Andean region. It is here, at the site known as Cotoche, that the echoes of a long-lost civilization still linger. More specifically, the Cotoche Religious Temple, a sacred structure dating back over 4,000 years, serves as a gateway into the spiritual life of the early Andean peoples. Cotoche itself is a quiet, remote site located in a valley near the town of Huánuco, nestled between jagged mountains and lush greenery. The most striking feature of Cotoche is the temple complex, an ancient site of worship that stands as a testament to the deep spiritual beliefs of the early inhabitants of this region. What makes Cotoche so compelling is not merely its age, but its sheer mystery, its significance as one of the oldest known religious centers in the Andes, and the unresolved questions that continue to surround its purpose. At the heart of the Cotoche complex lies the Templo de las Manos Cruzadas, Temple of the Crossed Hands, a structure that defies easy explanation. It is named for the curious hand motifs that adorn the walls of the temple, forming the shape of crossed arms. These motifs are not just decorative, they are a deliberate and powerful symbol. Archaeologists have suggested that these handprints represent human connection to the divine, but their true significance remains elusive. Why did the builders of Kotosh, over 4,000 years ago, choose this specific symbol? What did these crossed hands represent in the context of their worldview? Were they a symbol of divine protection, or perhaps a ritualistic gesture linked to the worship of a specific deity? The Kotosh religious temple itself is an ancient ceremonial center, with its structure built using a combination of stone and adobe, a common material in ancient Andean construction. The temple was constructed over several stages, indicating its long-standing use and evolving function as a site of worship and ritual. The temple sits on a raised platform, suggesting that it may have been intended for public ceremonies, perhaps a place where the community gathered to offer prayers, sacrifices, or other forms of worship to the gods. But unlike other known Andean sites, such as Machu Picchu, Kotosh does not appear to have been a center of political power. Rather, it seems to have been exclusively devoted to spiritual practice. The physical layout of the temple is both simple and enigmatic. Its small, cramped spaces are divided into rooms, some of which contain traces of ceremonial fire pits and offerings. These offerings, small figurines, pottery, and bits of animal bone, suggest that ritual sacrifices may have taken place here, though whether human sacrifice was involved remains uncertain. The presence of these offerings leads us to wonder, what drove the people of Kotosh to such devout worship? Was it fear, reverence, or a deep need to understand the forces that governed the natural world around them? One of the most intriguing features of Kotosh is the temple's alignment with the movements of the sun. The temple is oriented so that it marks the alignment of the sun during the winter solstice, a phenomenon that has been observed at many ancient sites around the world. This suggests that the people of Kotosh, long before the rise of Inca civilization, were already aware of celestial cycles and incorporated these astronomical events into their spiritual practices. Could the temple have been built to honor the sun, or perhaps other celestial bodies? Did the people of Kotosh, much like the Egyptians, the Mayans, or the Greeks, believe that the sun's movements held divine significance? Furthermore, the role of shamanic practices at Kotosh cannot be overlooked. The presence of ritual objects, the hand motifs, and the strategic placement of the temple suggest that the site was more than just a physical space. It was likely a portal to another realm, a place where the earthly and spiritual worlds intersected. Some archaeologists speculate that the site may have been used for shamanic rituals, where the practitioners would enter altered states of consciousness through the use of psychoactive substances or meditation, allowing them to communicate with spirits or deities. Could these rituals have been meant to control the forces of nature, or perhaps to seek guidance for agricultural practices, given the site's proximity to the fertile highlands? But what exactly were the spiritual beliefs of the people who built Kotosh? The Andean worldview is often described as being deeply tied to the forces of nature. Agriculture, the cycles of the seasons, and the reverence for the mountains, rivers, and animals that populated the landscape. The hand motifs at Kotosh might symbolize a gesture of reciprocity, a form of reaching out to the gods in an effort to ask for their blessings in return for offerings. These crossed hands could signify the union of the human and divine worlds, or perhaps they represent the idea of balance, a concept that was central to Andean cosmology. Was the act of crossing one's hands a gesture of reaching upward to the gods, or a symbolic representation of the balance between the earthly and spiritual realms? As we move beyond the mainstream explanations, more speculative theories begin to emerge. Could Kotosh have been part of a larger, networked system of sacred sites across the Andean region, each with its own symbolic role? Some researchers have suggested that the temple was not just a place of worship, but also an ancient astronomical observatory, a site designed to track the movement of the stars and planets in order to predict seasonal changes or guide agricultural decisions. In this context, the hand motifs could represent the linking of humans to the cosmos, signifying an ancient belief in the importance of celestial guidance for earthly life. However, there is another, more mysterious possibility. The Temple of the Crossed Hands is not the only structure found at Kotosh. There are other, less explored sites in the surrounding area that suggest the existence of a far more complex religious and cultural center. These sites, with their equally perplexing arrangements and symbolic features, suggest that Kotosh was not an isolated location, but rather part of a larger network of sacred spaces, some of which may still lie buried beneath the Andean earth. Given the lack of detailed written records from the time, much of the symbolism surrounding Kotosh remains open to interpretation. The temple's purpose, whether it was simply a place of worship, an observatory, or a ritualistic center, continues to be debated by scholars. Yet, as with many ancient sites, part of the allure of Kotosh lies in its ability to provoke wonder. The true meaning behind the stone walls, the enigmatic hand motifs, and the alignment of the temple with celestial bodies is likely to remain elusive. Could it be that Kotosh represents not only the depth of ancient Andean spirituality, but also a mystery that humanity may never fully unravel? As we stand before these ruins, we are confronted not only by the ingenuity of an ancient civilization, but by the timeless questions of belief, power, and the relationship between humans and the cosmos. Perhaps in time, more secrets will be revealed. But for now, Kotosh stands as a testament to a people whose understanding of the universe remains as mysterious and profound as the stones they left behind. As we leave behind the deep, cloud-shrouded mysteries of the Andes, we turn our gaze toward a much drier and arid landscape, the Sonoran Desert of southern Arizona, where the remnants of an ancient civilization stand, waiting to be unraveled. Amid the scrub and cacti, a remarkable sight rises from the earth, a complex of ruins that still defy full understanding. Casa Grande Ruins. The name Casa Grande, or Great House, refers to a massive, multi-story structure that once stood at the heart of a thriving settlement long before the arrival of Europeans to the Americas. This structure, a marvel of ancient architecture, is the most well-known feature of the ruins. Towering above the surrounding desert, Casa Grande gives visitors a glimpse into a time and place that have almost faded from history. Yet, despite its striking presence, it is a place of mystery, a site with more questions than answers. Casa Grande itself is a large adobe building, constructed from thick mud and clay, and it once served as the center of a vast settlement. Its walls, though weathered by centuries of desert winds, still stand tall and imposing. The structure's design is simple in form, but monumental in its execution. Its rectangular shape, with thick walls and narrow windows, suggests it was built with both durability and a sense of grandeur in mind. What was its purpose? What was the significance of this great house? And why did its builders choose such a remote and harsh environment to erect such a monumental structure? The Hohokam people, the civilization responsible for the Casa Grande ruins, inhabited the Sonoran Desert as early as 300 BC. The Hohokam are best known for their sophisticated irrigation systems that allowed them to transform the arid land into fertile fields, cultivating crops such as corn, beans, and squash. The ruins at Casa Grande are a part of their legacy, a symbol of their ingenuity in a landscape that seems inhospitable to life. Yet, despite their advanced agricultural techniques and thriving settlements, much of their culture remains mysterious. Few written records exist to reveal their beliefs, their daily lives, or the reasons behind the construction of such monumental sites as Casa Grande. The most intriguing aspect of the Casa Grande ruins, however, is the question of the building's purpose. While many archaeologists agree that Casa Grande was a central gathering place for the Hohokam, the exact function of the structure remains unclear. Was it a ceremonial space, a place for political meetings, or perhaps a more practical location for trade and storage? Some theories suggest that it may have been an observatory, with its windows and elevated platform designed to track the movements of the sun, the stars, or celestial events. There is evidence that the Hohokam people had a deep understanding of astronomy, as seen in their alignment of irrigation canals with the solar cycles. Could Casa Grande have been more than just a building? It could have been a sacred space designed to bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. Adding to the complexity of the site is the unusual architecture of the structure. Casa Grande is not the only building in the area, but it is the most prominent. Surrounding it are remnants of smaller structures, many of which are aligned in peculiar ways, hinting at an intentional layout. This precise construction raises further questions. Was Casa Grande part of a larger citywide plan designed with specific celestial or ceremonial functions in mind? Did the Hohokam have an understanding of geometry or sacred space similar to that of the ancient Egyptians, Mayans, or other advanced cultures? The question of why this monumental building was abandoned is equally puzzling. The Hohokam people inhabited the region for centuries, thriving in a harsh environment. Yet by the time the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, the settlement at Casa Grande had been deserted. What led to their disappearance from this area? Did they abandon the site due to environmental factors, such as a severe drought or the depletion of natural resources? Or was there another, more complex reason for the fall of the Hohokam civilization? Some scholars believe that the construction of Casa Grande was tied to the increasing influence of rituals and religious practices within Hohokam society. As the population grew, so too did the importance of ceremonial space. Could the collapse of Casa Grande mark the decline of these ceremonial practices? Or perhaps it was a result of shifts in the spiritual or political structure of the society, an abandoned building signifying the end of an era in Hohokam history? Yet, even after years of study, archaeologists have uncovered little direct evidence to explain why the Hohokam left Casa Grande. Some theories suggest that the desert heat and changing climate made the area unsustainable for agricultural practices. Others posit that shifts in the social and political landscape, perhaps due to warfare, caused the people to disperse. Yet these remain speculative. No definitive answers have been found to explain the sudden disappearance of the Hohokam from this region. What is perhaps most unsettling is how much has been lost. While we know that Casa Grande was likely a place of religious and political significance, the absence of detailed records leaves us unable to grasp the full breadth of the Hohokam people's beliefs and practices. Were they a society focused on astronomy, or did they possess knowledge that went beyond our current understanding? Did they, like many ancient cultures, view the cosmos as something deeply interconnected with their earthly existence? The mysteries of Casa Grande also invite speculation about spirituality and cosmology. The hand-carved images and intricate pottery found at the site suggest that the Hohokam may have had deeply symbolic rituals that reflected their connection to the land, the sky, and the divine. The importance of water, not only as a life-giving resource but also as a symbol of spiritual renewal, was central to their culture. Could Casa Grande have been a temple dedicated to the gods of water, meant to secure the blessings of rainfall and the fertility of their crops? While mainstream explanations have focused on the practical aspects of the site, such as its role in agriculture, trade, and governance, other theories suggest that Casa Grande could have served as a focal point for shamanic practices, where the leaders of the community performed rituals to commune with the divine. Some even hypothesize that the construction of the Great House could have been inspired by the Hohokam's desire to connect with ancient knowledge, possibly passed down by earlier civilizations or through contact with neighboring cultures. The notion of outside influence is another thread that runs through the history of Casa Grande. The Hohokam were part of a larger network of societies that spanned much of the southwest United States and northern Mexico. Could Casa Grande have been a center for religious or cultural exchange, bringing together the wisdom of different groups? Or was it part of a larger trend of monumental construction across ancient civilizations in the Americas, each struggling to express their relationship with the divine in tangible, physical forms? Standing among the ruins of Casa Grande today, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe. The massive adobe walls, the remnants of intricate designs, the silent expanse of the desert, it all evokes a powerful connection to the past. And yet, as we gaze upon this mysterious structure, we are reminded of how much we still do not know about the lives of those who built it. What drove them to construct such an imposing site in this unforgiving landscape? What purpose did it truly serve? And what happened to the Hohokam after they left? Though the ruins remain, the answers to these questions are elusive, buried beneath the sands of time. Casa Grande is a testament to human ingenuity, but also a symbol of the many mysteries that remain just out of reach. Will we ever fully understand the purpose of this ancient great house, or will it always be a silent reminder of a forgotten people, their beliefs, and their lost knowledge? The questions linger as the desert winds whisper the secrets of a time long past. As we continue our exploration of ancient sites shrouded in mystery, we journey to a windswept corner of Cornwall, a rugged peninsula in the southwest of England. Here, beneath the vast overcast skies and amidst the rolling rocky landscape, we encounter one of Britain's most enigmatic prehistoric monuments, Men-an-Tol. The name Men-an-Tol roughly translates to stone with a hole, and that description couldn't be more apt. The site is a curious arrangement of standing stones, two upright menhirs with a circular opening in the center stone. The stones, which stand in a rough alignment, have puzzled archaeologists, historians, and spiritual seekers alike for centuries. What were these stones meant to represent? And why was a hole cut through one of them? Is it a relic of an ancient religion? A ritual space? Or does it serve a deeper, more mysterious purpose that modern understanding has yet to unlock? The central stone, the one with the hole, stands about 1.2 meters high, its shape both natural and carved, its rounded form resembling an elongated eye or an open mouth. The two adjacent stones, also upright but more slender, frame the central stone, as if they were placed deliberately to direct one's gaze towards the aperture in the rock. The hole, which measures roughly 30 centimeters in diameter, is perfectly circular, an almost unnatural symmetry in a landscape where erosion and time have left their marks. It's a stark contrast to the jagged, unrefined stones that surround it. What could have inspired ancient people to cut a perfect hole into stone? Was it functional or symbolic? Was it intended for a ritual purpose or for something far less tangible, like an observation point aligning with the movements of the stars, the moon, or the sun? We know that Men-an-Tol dates back to the Bronze Age, roughly 3,500 years ago, and is part of a wider prehistoric landscape in Cornwall that includes other stone circles and megalithic structures, all connected in some way by shared themes of ritual and celestial observation. It is also believed to have been part of a larger network of ceremonial sites, designed for spiritual or communal gatherings. But while the site itself has been well studied, the exact reason for its creation remains elusive. One theory suggests that Men-an-Tol was part of an ancient ritual landscape, designed for rites that revolved around fertility, life, and death. Some researchers believe that the stone's circular hole could have symbolized the womb, a link between the earthly realm and the spiritual world, reflecting the importance of birth and renewal in Bronze Age society. In fact, many of the theories surrounding the site are rooted in fertility symbolism. The hole might have been a place through which ancient people passed to ensure fertility, health, and rebirth. If this is true, the stone may have been used in fertility rituals, perhaps as a sacred passage that people would crawl through in a symbolic act of renewal. Indeed, over the centuries, local folklore has contributed to the mystique of Men-an-Tol. It has been said that children born with health problems were passed through the hole to be cured or to strengthen their health. And some versions of the myth suggest that the stone is imbued with magical powers, particularly the ability to cure ailments. Others claim that the stone has healing properties for fertility, making it a place where people would seek to ensure the growth of their crops or the health of their livestock. Despite these local legends, there is no clear archaeological evidence to confirm the exact nature of the site's use. The holes in the stones could have been a symbol of something much more abstract, something that modern minds struggle to grasp. Could it have represented a gateway to another world, or an opening in time, allowing those who passed through it to connect with the gods or the ancestors? The idea of using a hole as a symbolic portal to the divine is not new. Similar structures appear in other ancient cultures, where stones with openings were believed to bridge the gap between the mortal and divine realms. Interestingly, the stone with the hole also seems to align with certain astronomical events. Some have proposed that the positioning of Men-an-Tol was deliberate, constructed to track specific celestial movements. Like other megalithic structures across Europe, it is possible that Men-an-Tol was designed to mark important solar events, such as the solstices or equinoxes. Could the stone with the hole have served as a kind of ancient observatory? Was it placed to frame a particular celestial body, marking key moments in the year when the heavens and earth converged? While the site itself is not as sophisticated as, say, Stonehenge, it still raises the possibility that the builders were deeply attuned to the rhythms of the natural world. There are also more speculative theories about the significance of Men-an-Tol, some of which stretch the imagination. Could it have been used as part of a ritual initiation? Perhaps it was a place where individuals underwent trials or challenges to prove their strength, courage, or spiritual worthiness. The hole, in this sense, could have served as a metaphorical passage through which one was reborn, transitioning from one state of being to another. This would fit with the prevailing belief systems of ancient European cultures, which often emphasized cyclical transformations, the idea of life, death, and rebirth as central to human existence. Other theories suggest a connection to ancient shamanic practices. Shamanic traditions, which involve a journey between the physical world and the spirit world, often use symbols and rituals that involve portals, gates, doors, or openings through which the shaman might pass to access hidden realms. The hole in the Men-an-Tol stone could have served a similar function, a portal not only for fertility and health, but also for spiritual transformation. This theory, though speculative, ties in with a broader understanding of ancient stone circles and their association with otherworldly realms. Still, other hypotheses propose that Men-an-Tol had an entirely different function, one that we are yet to uncover. Was it a memorial site, marking the resting place of important figures in the Bronze Age? Or perhaps it was part of an early system of astronomical navigation used to track the stars and the changing seasons. There is also the question of why the builders of Men-an-Tol chose to place this site in such a remote location. What drove them to erect such a striking monument in a place where few people would see it? Was it a private, sacred space reserved for only the select few, or was it meant to be viewed by all? Perhaps one of the most compelling aspects of Men-an-Tol is that, despite its simplicity, the site raises profound questions about the spirituality and world view of the ancient people who built it. We often think of these ancient cultures as primitive, but their understanding of the world was likely far more complex than we can imagine. The presence of these stones, simple yet powerful, suggests a deep connection to the land, the stars, and the forces beyond human control. They remind us that, even in the distant past, people sought ways to understand their place in the cosmos, to explain the mysteries of life, and to reach out to the divine. As we stand before Men-an-Tol today, the wind rustling through the gorse and the distant sound of the ocean waves, we are left with the same questions that have plagued archaeologists and historians for centuries. What was the true purpose of this stone circle? Was it a symbol of life and death, a portal to the divine, or perhaps something far stranger and more complex? The stone with the hole remains a silent enigma, its purpose hidden from us by the sands of time. And perhaps, like many of the world's ancient mysteries, it will never fully reveal its secrets. But as we continue to explore the past, we are reminded that the answers to these questions may not matter as much as the questions themselves, for Men-an-Tol, like all ancient mysteries, asks us to look deeper, to wonder, and to search for meaning in the stones that still stand against the passage of time.